Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Song of Laugh and Death, presented by the Laugh and Death podcast. Today, we're going over Season 6 of Game of Thrones, a TV series. We're going over spoilers, theories, and everything in between. We're not going to spoil anything past the season, but we are going to spoil things prior to the season, so Season 5 and through Season 1. Right now, we have our resident new boy, Alex. I always call him new boy because he's new to the series.
Yeah.
We have our Game of Thrones expert, Manuel.
My lords.
And our host of a host, David.
Your Grace.
We throw it off to Manuel.
Okay, guys, so let's get this Season 6 started off with a couple of facts. Season 6 of Game of Thrones premiered on April 24th, 2016. Some of the story elements were derived from the novels and from information George R. R. Martin revealed to the showrunners. The show was primarily filmed in Northern Ireland, Spain, Croatia, Iceland, and Canada. That's why they had so many beautiful vistas in Season 6. They picked the best places. And they would even have to, like to do, for example, if they were going to film the winter in the summer, they would go to Canada and whatever.
They should have done La Feria, dude.
Dude, La Feria would have Dorn, what's up? Season 6 budget was over $100 million, over $10 million per episode. And recently they released how much each cast member was getting paid per episode. And like they try to make Sansa, like the actress who plays Sansa, like turn against the guy who plays Jon Snow, Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke.
Turner.
And so, yeah, Sophie Turner, like, because they're getting paid triple, but they're the main characters. So, and she's like, I'm glad they're getting paid all that. Didn't she see all the scenes he had to do? Like, she don't want to be running around the cold.
So they wanted her to negotiate like a higher contract or bring their contract down?
Yeah, or like to bitch at them. Like, oh my God, it's so unfair. Like, I'm a woman and Jon Snow gets paid more. But he and Daenerys, the actress that plays Daenerys, got paid the same.
Yeah.
She's got bills to pay, man. She's got brain surgery bills.
Dude, she's Dark Phoenix. Like,
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, like
you
she's
know
Dark
nothing.
Phoenix,
You know
dude.
nothing, Sansa.
Yeah. And at the end of the 5th season, the content of the show reached the plot of the last novel, which is The Dance of Dragons. That's the name of the last novel. So pretty much everything in Season 6 is kind of a guesstimation compared to the books and just theories. And I think the showrunners did do their own thing because they didn't want to... Well, George R. R. Martin probably didn't tell them every detail for the book, so...
They're
There's a lot
freestyling.
of, yeah, they're
You
freestyling.
gotta imagine because they jetpack a lot this season, and it's I don't know. It takes me out of it. But then again, we are watching a show that has dragons and ice zombies, but it gets
Dude,
pretty bad.
Portals, bro.
Yeah.
Shadow stepping.
I mean, magic is
Melisandre.
present, so maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And by this point, by the time this season came out, this was one of the most popular shows ever. It had 9 million viewers, and still triple that illegally downloaded.
Jeez.
So
Guilty. Just kidding.
Hey, whoa, man, they can take your IP.
No, I got. I'm a subscriber. I promise.
Yeah.
So, quick thing before we go into it. Overall impressions. Alex, what were your overall impressions of Season 6? This is the Battle of the Bastards.
Coming from Season 5, it was such a great, like, this is what I needed. Like, this is Game of Thrones again. You know what I mean? Not that it wasn't Game of Thrones Season 5, but it was just kind of a slow start, Season 5. And then Season 6 is just like, you're getting so much information and so many nice details that it's making it real juicy. And it's like, oh, shit. I just want to keep watching. So Season 6 was like the season where me and my girl, we just watched it. A lot of the episodes just back to back, back to back, back to back. We didn't even stop. Like, we were like, oh, no. We didn't want to wait. You know, we wanted to keep watching. And yes, Battle of the Bastards, dude. That took my breath away. Pun.
literally.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, Battle of the Bastards is one of my favorite battle scenes on like the whole series. So I really like this season. And yeah, like you said, like I just binged it. Like I couldn't stop watching it. I had to go to sleep. I was like, okay, I'll stop. But overall, the season, like you said, compared to Season 5, it was just more fluent, and it just like more information, more things just to consume. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is what Game of Thrones is, not Season 5, because Season 5 was pretty bad.
Yeah, I concur. Definitely. I think this is where Dan and Dave really shine, the showrunners, because they got what they could and they made a good story out of it. Because they didn't have a lot of information from the books. Like there was some, right, but everything was like theories, early released chapters from the new novel that still hasn't come out. So they did a pretty good. They made a badass television show.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Nice.
Yeah, same thing. I felt like it was a true return to form for the series because Season 5 was just so weak with the Dorne storyline, and it still trickles into this season, and it really does bother me because like that's what tarnished Season 5 for me, even though it had a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And I loved how they answered a lot of questions in season 6 that set us up even more for season 7. All the politics is almost over by the end of this season, and
it just kind of blows up.
It just comes crashing down.
I have a question though. Do you know if like the writing got better in season 6 because of the time because season 5 was pretty bad, and do you think that they had a season 5 as a buffer between them writing their own stuff and their own material, or like getting material from George R. R. Martin to write a better season later on?
I think a lot had to do with their meeting with George R. R. Martin, because they had like a 6-hour meeting where he told them, all right, this is what the big bullet points that happened throughout the season, and then they had to adapt it on their own.
Yeah.
So they got to write a lot of the dialogue. Like Tyrion is back to form in this season. Jon, he's doing the right thing, but every time he's doing the right thing, there's a lot of things that are wrong with his decision. And the whole overall writing was a lot better because it was in their hands, and it wasn't like George saying like, "Oh no, you didn't get the details right," because there are no details to go off of because he hasn't released the book. So
True, makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that because making it like a filler or a buffer between season 5 and season 6, I can totally see that.
Just so they can get their own groove going.
And they fucking killed it.
I mean, I would have to disagree with Tyrion's, like, the way they wrote his character. I didn't like it. I didn't think he was witty enough, or like what they thought was witty wasn't Tyrion witty. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but I'm an SOB. I'm loyal to the books, so you can almost see the break of like I drink and know things. I think that's the stupidest thing he's ever said, even though people have like every T-shirt right of it. But I really dislike that line.
No, I think I disagree with you, but we'll get to that.
That's fine. We'll get there.
There's a lot of rough dialogue in this season, but I mean, they had a lot of great moments. So
sorry, let me interrupt real quick. But yeah, because the dialogue, I had a feeling that this season had like a lot of more comical like one-liners or like lines that were supposed to like get you like to chuckle. So like that the drink and know things. That's why I was like, oh, okay. And there's other things that happened too. I can't think of the top of my head, but I felt like this season had a little bit more comedy in it, like unintentional,
like levity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought all the scenes with Tyrion, Missandei, and Grey Worm were painful, just to watch. Like,
yes,
I think that's what they were going for,
right?
So.
Because I mean, you see Tyrion. I mean, you also have to say that like Tyrion is coming from Westeros, where he's just always been around like popularity in some way, whether it be bad popularity or not. But he comes to these people who are, in a sense, they were slaves to masters, and they didn't have any form of like free communication and just being who they are. You know what I mean? So you get that contrast of like they're just kind of there. It's kind of painful to watch. And Tyrion displays that too. That it's like, come on, you guys never heard a fucking joke, or you've never, you know what I mean?
I think they should have just broken the fourth wall and be like, "Are you really having us fucking say this shit right now?"
Exactly. Because
it was dumb. It was really dumb. I didn't see the point of it.
But let's get into it.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it. So episode 1, The Red Woman. We start right where season 5 ended, and it's at Castle Black with Jon's death. Like Davos finds him in the I guess the quad or the snowbank or whatever.
Love that scene.
And they carry him out and they take him over, and it was just like, I'm so happy that I was like, okay, we're gonna see what the ramifications are from this instance. And after they carry him over to the holding area, and everybody's locked up, and I'm like, okay, and Ed is there with him, and Davos is like, so who do you trust? And he was like, everybody in this room, and there's only like 6 people.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like he had to say like everybody in this room, because he just looked around like, oh, what the fuck are these kids? Oh yeah, everybody here.
All these extras that are gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so weird, and I have this feeling every time this character that Davos is in the room, I feel a sense of comfort.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's like my grandfather, and he's like,
Yeah, like it's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be all right because Davos is there. Like,
Yeah.
Such a smooth
he's
talker.
gonna pull out some like fisherman wisdom to like make it okay. You know what I mean?
And you realize how bad of a fucking negotiator Jon is later on.
You got to think maybe being a smuggler, he's been in some really tricky fucking corners.
Yes.
He's somehow talked his way out of it. He's still there.
Yeah,
He doesn't have 3 fingers, but he's still
He's
there.
all charisma. Like, no
Yeah.
muscles, all charisma.
Yeah.
He's a horrible fighter.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, that I think it's so cool how they open up the gates, like, at the beginning of the episode with Melisandre walking in. I was like, what the fuck is this bitch doing here? And, like, I didn't read the book, so I didn't know, I couldn't put 2 and 2 together. Like, I thought Jon was dead. Like, I thought
Yeah.
it was over. So Alistair Thorne tells his brothers that he admits to killing the Lord Commander because he betrayed everything that he believed in, everything that he fought for, and everything that he's been at the wall for over 30 years or something like that. And
what the watch has been about.
And yeah, he's enforced everything that the watch is supporting. And I was just like, man, the balls on this guy. He was just like, I just took matters into my own hands. He put us in danger. He's bringing the wildlings over, but he just didn't see the big picture.
Right.
So,
And he never saw a White Walker or a zombie. Like,
Yeah.
he never... So he didn't understand.
He just worried about wildlings
Yeah.
and protecting the wall and his people, I guess.
He was stuck in his racism.
Yeah, basically. And John knew what lied ahead,
busted.
Yeah.
What do you say? Like, I betrayed the Lord Commander, but he betrayed the
Night's Watch.
the Night's Watch.
He just didn't get the big picture. But we're gonna stick to the north. I mean, not much happened in the scene, but I mean, the fact that they're dealing with Jon's death and all the storylines that are gonna come out of it were great. Ramsay mourns Miranda. We do know that Reek pushed her over the ledge, and we saw her hit the ground and her head exploded. But she was the Kennelman's daughter. And I love how he speaks like so highly of her. She smelled like dogs.
Yeah.
She was fearless. And then he's like, she's good meat. Go ahead and feed her to the dogs.
Fuck.
That was fucked up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
It was like classic for Ramsay, but it was like fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like, of course he would fucking do that.
I was happy he fed her to the dogs. Like, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
you can see his face turn also when the maester's like, "Do you want her buried or burned?" And he just like he's like like his face is like he's in mourning, and then he just shifts to like cold-hard Ramsay again. He's like, "No, this is good meat. Like,
Yeah.
don't waste it."
And they do say that that Ramsay's claim to the throne is in jeopardy because he has no Sansa. And Roose tells him, like, you have no Sansa. You have the key to the north. You don't have an heir. And the northern houses aren't going to support us if we don't have a Stark in Winterfell. Because even though they can take it through force, but in order to get everybody united, they need to have a Stark in Winterfell.
And I like the way he told him, like, you were playing your games with her. You know, that's why she left. Like stop your shit.
Yeah, he understands too. He's just like, come on, dude.
Like, there's a time to flay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really quickly, I just want to get Dorne out of the way in this season. I mean, this episode. Fucking happens to me too, dude. Dorne still sucks. It fucking sucks. The female actors are horrendous. Like, they killed Prince Trystane Martell, and one of the lines is, "You are a greedy bitch." You know that? Like, come on.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
After
like, the writing.
they kill him. They shove the spear through his head. And I'm just like, so fucking bad. I'm so glad that.
I mean, the Dorne things I can agree with. That was just, but I don't know why it's so bad though. Like, do they just add that in there because they forgot about it and they're like, okay, we need Dorne in the mix because in the overall season they didn't contribute much.
No, the whole story didn't contribute much.
I think it's because everybody just loves what's happening with Daenerys and Cersei and the North. Everybody's just so infatuated with that. And I think it's like Dorne is just kind of like a...
Well, they kind of treated Dorne like an unwanted redheaded stepchild. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, we have to include it, but I don't know how to include. You know what I mean? Like, it was done very sloppily.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, yeah. And then I still don't know how they barely killed the prince when they killed Marcella. You know what I mean? Like, where was the prince at? Where did they kill him?
I thought he was in the ship with them.
So did I, because they
Was
were
it two
going
ships?
together.
Because that was the bargain. That was the bargaining thing. Like, you take my son with you. He's gonna sit on the
council.
what,
council.
what happened was, he was in the ship with them. Marcella died. They sailed to King's Landing, and then when we saw the sand snakes on the pier, it wasn't them. It was imposters because they were just like there, but they were really on the ship. Or maybe they just jetpacked over there. I don't give a fuck. I don't know. That was just bad. Like, that was blatantly bad because they see the ship off in the distance. They're on the dock, and then they end up on the ship with Trystane. Like, after they're already in King's Landing.
And there was only one ship, right? We only saw one ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could. I mean, story wise, it could have just like followed them in another ship, like snuck on board, killed Tristan on board, and then sailed back to Dorne.
Because he was killed on the ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These continuity errors are things that take me out of the show, and it just pisses me off. Like that is a hard mark on the series, especially the whole Dorne storyline for me. I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
And the fact that the capital was named Dorne. It should be called Sunspear. Sorry, but it just pissed me off.
So moving over to King's Landing, Jaime returns empty-handed. Cersei meets him at the dock, and they see that Jaime is alone, and behind him is a casket wrapped in a gold shroud.
Yeah.
And Cersei realizes that she lost Marcella. And then Cersei and Jaime meet in her quarters, and she tells Jaime of the prophecy that what's her name?
Maggie the Frog.
Maggie the Frog told her. So what was the prophecy? Remind us one more time.
It was she'll have 3 children, and their hair will be gold, and her 3 children will die, and they'll be buried with shrouds of gold.
Yeah.
And she will be queen. But she would be queen until another younger, more beautiful deposes her.
Yeah, it was gold in their crowns, gold in their shrouds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, her prophecy is coming true, and she even tells Jaime like, "I knew you weren't gonna bring her back because of the prophecy.
It's
Like,
all true.
It was
yeah.
coming true." Yeah.
And the funny thing in the world of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones world, prophecies happen. You just misinterpret them, but they always come true. Like Melisandre.
There's so much room for,
Right.
of how it can be, made.
Cool. So that's all for Westeros. We're going to move over to Essos, where Daenerys loses her fleet, which is a huge blow to her because she was getting ready. She started to get the ship so that she could go over to Westeros, but they're lit on fire by the Sons of the Harpy. And so Tyrion needs to figure out, or they need to figure out how to get a new fleet.
And wasn't the city like calm because of the violence had kind of scared everybody away from Marine, like the ports and the where they do the trade. So it was kind of, they were walking through the city and it was just barren, and then they see people running away from the docks, and then they see that it's burnt.
Yeah, it was really peaceful because like Tyrion and Varys are walking around, which they have a really funny moment where he gives a coin to the lady and he's like,
To
feed
eat.
your baby.
Yeah.
He wants to eat her baby. But they realize that shit's going down, and they're losing their fleet because they thought they had taken over the Sons of the Harpy. They thought they had everything under control, but obviously they did not.
I think that's also when Tyrion or Varys kind of mentions that the Sons of the Harpy, they have to be organized to be this like lethal and like within like secrecy. So there has to be somebody that's controlling them or telling them what to do, because most of them are just noble born people and freed men, quote unquote. So that's when they find out, like that's when Tyrion asked Varys to send his little birds to go investigate, and then they find out that it's the other masters of the other cities.
Yeah.
Who are funding the Sons of the Harpy.
Yeah.
And even the Valentines, right, from Valentis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, the book we don't know, because in the book, like the point is there's Hizdahr Zolorak and Daenerys get married, but the Sons of the Harpy are still killing everybody, but you don't know who's behind it, and everyone thinks it's Hizdahr Zolorak. So,
But he's dead now.
And I even thought that in the show, like when he was still alive. So I thought he was part of the whole masters that are part of the Sons of the Harpy.
So Daenerys is back with the Dothraki. I'm really excited to see her do something different, because the last 3 seasons it's just been like politics,
Yeah.
and trying to make everybody happy. But to me, it was like the same shit, different day when it came to everything having to do with the Dothraki. I mean, they treated her like shit the way they did in the first season, and then she got everybody's respect at the end. And it was just I thought it was poorly executed, and it took way too many episodes to get through it, and it just.
yeah, when I first saw it, I really thought they were going to play the prophecy from the book, because in the first book, when she goes with Khal Drogo, all the Dash Khaleen give her a prophecy, and one of them is they're all gonna bow to her, like they were all gonna give her homage, and it didn't happen. I was like, oh, they're finally doing something from the book, and it didn't happen.
What is the city that they're in, or like the like
Vase Dothrak.
Okay, so that's where like all the cows go Because is it one main cow or is it just everybody together?
There's 10 of them.
Yeah, any Khaleesi that
Is widowed.
is widowed has to go there. But every man that becomes like a call with his own cow with his own horde has to go and pay tribute to the city as well. So it's like they're Jerusalem almost. But I thought the Dothraki were odd looking. Didn't they look different? Like, because I've been rewatching the series and they weren't like the mamado,
Well, I think
badass Dothraki from the first season.
That's why I'm asking, because like it was just everybody there, so it makes sense. Like there's older Dothraki, and fatter Dothraki and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking if it was just like if it's one big horde that they're following, or is it just like all of them come together? So there's different. Like,
versions
different
of Dothraki,
like different regions. I mean, it's within the same region, but the different
there'll be tribes or say like you know what I mean, the hordes. There'll be different hordes, but I'm just saying even the whole like race was changed. They look different, like they were dressed different. They didn't have the cool like tattoos, no eyeliner. I mean, like what's going on?
Maybe they just needed more extras and they just took whatever they can get.
They had furs.
You're dark enough.
Yeah, they had fur. You know what? They were dressed kind of like the book describes them. But I like the way they came out in the first 2 seasons. Like they were real like badass.
Yeah, they were just like, he's dark enough. Just put him in the show.
Está morenito.
And in a shocking twist at the very end, we find out that Melisandre is old AF. She's
old as fuck.
Bad. She takes off her, I guess it's like a charm that, I don't know, I guess it's called charm in like
it is
Buffy
a charm.
the Vampire Slayer, where they can like make themselves look like something when they're not.
A glamour. She calls it a glamour in the
There
book.
you go,
And when she used, remember I told you on the last episode how they actually burned the Lord of Bones instead of.
Yeah.
Well, when that's happening, the thing she wears on her neck pulses red. So it is the source of her magic or power. That thing she wears on her neck in the book.
Yeah.
And if you notice that, like later on in the season, they introduce several other red witches, and their gems are tiny. Not compared to hers. Hers is like fully filled out, and then theirs is like being held by like rope or whatever, or metal.
And I feel like she took it off because she was already just discouraged from
maybe losing like her
faith in
losing
the fire god or
the Lord
of the light, because of the battle where Stannis loses, and she's just like, whoa, he was a prince that was promised. And then she told Davos, like, I saw him fight at Winterfell. He can't be dead. And then Davos was like, well, maybe your god was wrong. So I think she's taking that into consideration. Like, everything that the Lord of Light has showed her so far is not coming true.
It has, but not in her
the
way they want.
Not in her way.
And I think that's where they messed up with Melisandre, because she still would have been, no, the Lord of Light is right. I just misinterpreted. Like, she should have been a little more assertive. I don't think she would have given up, because her whole point of life was this war.
And deaths for this episode were Duran Martell, Trystane Martell, and Arrow Hotath. Or Hota?
Yeah, Hota.
Yeah, that's the guard with the big axe, but it's not an axe.
Pole arm. And then he got stabbed by what? A little fucking knife. That big ass dude with how much fat and muscle dies with a little knife. Really?
To the ribs. Just
I know. And he's like, oh no. And it was
Is he
real,
wearing
like,
armor?
Yeah, I think so. And then it was like an 80s like action movie, like, you know, they go bang, they die. That's how he died.
And I think we call it an axe because even Doran was like, I hope you still know how to use that axe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like confused last season when I kept calling it an axe, and I was just like, I guess that's what it is.
It's not an axe.
It was pretty
Stupid.
weak. So episode 2 is called Home, and in Westeros, we find the Mountain. He kills a beggar from Flea Bottom for speaking ill about Cersei, talking about like he like exposed himself to her, and she wanted to suck.
She licked her lips or whatever.
Yeah. And King Tommen keeps Cersei from attending Marcella's funeral. So yeah, we see that yes, the Mountain he like just slams his head against the wall and like caves it in.
Beautiful.
It's what you said, that she was like taking mental images of like people like she wanted killed, and it looks like I mean, I guess he was just talking openly about it and like making the big show out of it. Yeah.
Well, someone like hears him and runs off, and I think that she has little spies. Well, Qyburn has little spies.
Yes. And it's messed up that Tommen's keeping Cersei from going to the funeral. for her daughter. And I mean, I understand like the High Sparrow and all them are out together.
And she's and he says like if you go there, they'll arrest you again, and like I don't want to lose you again.
Yeah. And Jaime and the Faith Militant exchange words, which is the High Sparrow. He tries to intimidate the High Sparrow, but I mean, it's so funny when you have nothing to lose, like the High Sparrow does. Like, your threats mean nothing because like he can die, but you're gonna die too. Like, and he I don't know. I feel so intimidated seeing that character. Like, just be like, okay. He's like, they won't make it by the time you strike me down. But he's like, what about your sins? He's like, well, what, are you going to arrest me? Like, and it's just so, I don't know, unsettling.
Yeah, because you have these people who are like, kind of about cheeseman. I mean, Cersei and all of them, and then everybody else, they're all just like, but if you do this, I'll do this. And they're just like, just drama. And then the High Sparrow's over here like, kill me.
I would have killed him because without him, the whole thing would have collapsed.
Yeah.
And you even see Jaime's face just be like, oh, what? Like, did you just say, like, okay? Like, no, you're supposed to, like, argue back. Like,
Yeah. They're so used to just this
back and forth.
Yeah, this back and forth, this game, man. And he's not playing it.
Yeah, and I also worried for Jaime because I'm like, fuck, he's going to get arrested too. And I mean, he's not going to go down without a fight, but he's going to get arrested too and because of his sins. And he even says, like, what about my sins? Like, he tries to intimidate him that way. And he's like, oh, you will pay for your sins eventually. And it just, so unsettling. And while we remain in Westeros, we get introduced to Euron Greyjoy after Balon dismisses Yara for her failed attempt to rescue Theon.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? It was kind of weak. The whole, like, I'm here, brother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take you out because you haven't done anything with the...
Yeah, weren't you gone on the sea, in the sea, like traveling or something?
And that's the third king's death that Melisandre predicted in the episode with Gendry and the leeches. That was the third king to die.
What was the uncle's name that came back?
Euron.
So he kills the king, which is
Balon.
Yeah, he throws him over
the rope bridge.
That rope bridge.
And then he's like, what is he like? You dismissed John God. He's like, no, I am the John God. Like, he just so full of himself, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, in the books, Euron's fucking awesome. Like,
is he?
He's like a crazy, like, he's a mental, like, sociopath. Like, he's like Ramsay and, I don't know, I guess Ramsay and a badass Ironborn melded together. Like, he don't give a fuck. His ship is called the Silence because everyone has their tongue removed. Like, no one can talk on his boat.
Shit.
Only he can. And the son of a bitch drinks the shade of the evening, the stuff the warlocks from Karth drink. So he sees visions of the future. That's why he's being all crazy.
Oh.
Like, we don't know what he does later.
Shit.
But in one of the books, he gets one of his other brothers and ties him to the front of his boat. So, like, he's a son of a bitch.
Yeah,
like,
He's fucking crazy in the book.
Even Balon mentions, like, when they're they're meeting again, he's like, I heard you went crazy through a storm. It's like, no Ironborn does that. And it's like, and then you cut your crew's tongues out. He's like, I just needed silence. Like, that's all. He's just like, I just needed silence. So
He is a critical character in the books, right?
yes.
Because he has a horn.
Oh, my God, yes. In the books, Euron Greyjoy goes to Valeria, right? And it's different than the show. In the show, you know, like, Valeria looked like old Mayan ruins almost, you know, ivy and jungle. But in the books, Valeria's still kind of like raw from the destruction. So even though it's been a couple of 100 years, it's still like smoking seas, boiling waters. Somehow Euron goes there and he finds a horn. Well, there's some glyphs on the horn. It's later translated that the horn is called Dragon Binder. It's a horn that controls dragons. But whoever blows the horn dies. Like, it uses their life force to activate the magic to control a dragon. So that's part of the whole reason he wants to go meet Daenerys, is to, like, marry her, fuck her over, use the dragon horn, and he wants to rule the world. Not the Iron Throne. He wants to rule the world.
Shit.
but you said if they blow the horn, they die. So how does that work?
Is he going to try to get her to...
No.
Is that...
Anybody else can, like, it's weird. Like, it's kind of like a Lord of the Rings thing where the ring, like, decides to be with you. Well, the horn does that too. So its master is Euron. So if one of his servants does it, he does it as, like, Euron's
like a
representative.
Oh,
right.
okay,
Like
okay.
a sacrifice.
Damn, that's
I
crazy.
thought like whoever just blows a horn gets to control the dragons, but they die. So I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, how that works.
No, and it's funny. That even comes out in the book. They're like, but they're like, no. If the owner has
That's
a
funny,
servant
yeah.
or something or someone loyal to him, it'll still follow the owner of the horn.
Shit.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, and they didn't include it in the show because like that's a huge like plot device. Because
Yeah.
like Euron has a lot of power with that horn, especially when he's gonna meet Daenerys.
And there's also a second horn they don't talk about, the Horn of Joramun, which is the horn in the north. That if you blow it, it's gonna bring the wall down.
Shit.
But that doesn't come out either.
God,
Yeah.
that's
See,
these are powerful instruments.
You told me about this horn, so I thought that was the same horn where like it can control the dragons and also bring down the wall. So I was like, this fucking horn's OP.
Dude,
Yeah,
yeah, nerf the fucking horn.
for real.
Hashtag nerf the horn.
Yeah, hashtag nerf the horn.
Cool. So we're gonna move over to Essos now, and Tyrion is concerned about the dragons because they've stopped eating after Daenerys left, and he also walks down to the crypts, and he also talks to Varys and lets him know like the dragons will, if they're in captivity, they will get smaller. They'll start to they won't eat. They'll start to get smaller. They get weaker, and back at King's Landing. They got so small they were about the size of cats, and which is like hard to think of because like when we saw them when they were first born, they were the size of a cat, like a little kitten.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
They start to wither away.
Yeah, they lose all their power, so they need to be set free.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes down there and he gives the line, "I drink and I know." They're like, "How do you know this?" I drink and I know things, which you aren't very happy and fond of.
Stupid.
That's it. That's all he says. That's right. I drink and I know
He's
things.
like, "How do you know this?"
Yeah, it's like Tyrion Lannister. You know what I mean? Like he is so well learned, and he's the dragon expert in the whole universe. He's read every book, like every book about dragons, and then he says that. It's like get out of here.
He's not wrong.
Well, I know.
Oh, this is what you want to defend.
Yeah, because he's like, he even mentioned himself. I don't know if you go into this, but he says that when he was little, like he wanted a dragon for his name day, and like everybody laughed at him because dragons have been extinct for like centuries, and he's like, and here you are, and he's gonna take them off their chains.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the moments where I'm just like, yeah, this is Tyrion. Like he dives himself into this topic because I don't know the backstory that he knew so much about it, but just like one of his dreams is coming true. Like it's not his, but it's a dragon that it's in front of him and in front of his eyes. So
And he's on their side. You
Yeah.
know, like they're yeah.
I like the way he's like, I just wanted a small one,
He was like,
a
"You
small
know that's
dragon.
one." He's like, "It didn't have to be big."
Yeah.
He's a small one like me.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yeah, so he that's the story he tells Viserion and Rhaegal as he takes their chains off and they walk towards the back of the crypts. And I have a weird theory, but we'll talk about that later when it comes to Tyrion. And Arya keeps getting attacked by the wave. She's getting her ass kicked, dude.
Yeah.
And this is the storyline for the next 4 episodes. So we're gonna go over to the north. Bran is back. We haven't seen him at all in season 5. And the three-eyed raven looks entirely different. The man who was all intertwined in the trees, he had a tree, like a root coming out of his eye and all this stuff. And now he looks like a regal man in a black suit and a black garb or whatever.
The three-eyed raven is actually Aegon the Maester's half cousin. But we'll talk about that later. Because he's a Blackfire.
Yeah.
And the Children of the Forest look completely different also too.
Yes.
Yeah, they look hotter.
I know, Leaf, that was her name in the season
Leaf,
before.
yes.
And then she got all voluptuous. And,
Yeah,
yo,
what the fuck?
What's up, Bran?
Yeah.
I show you how to use that slate.
Look
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a little Tila tequila.
Oh,
Yeah, so he grabs the root, and we get a flashback, but through Bran's perspective, of young Ned, Benjen, and Lyanna Stark sparring in Winterfell. Benjen and Ned are sparring, and then Lyanna comes in, and she's the famous Stark that we have not met so far. Mm-hmm. And apparently she was a beauty, and I was not impressed. I'm sorry.
no, she wasn't a beauty. She kind of looked like Oscar the Grouch. No, Bert and Ernie. She was like the sister of Bert and Ernie.
Maybe for the times and for the Starks.
No.
That's got to be no.
No, this is a war that was started by Robert, and
Yeah.
I expected her to be
I mean,
gorgeous.
even what's his name looked real bad. But we'll get into that whenever they show him.
Yes, and we also get introduced to Willis, a.k.a. Hodor.
Young Hodor.
Hodor. So we're going to move over to the other side. Any significance from this flashback that stood out to you?
It really shows how the Stark children got along. So when everything that happened to them later should feel more amplified, even though it's kind of done backwards. But they were really a very close family, and then they all get killed, basically. They all get killed.
Just from a thing I want to mention is that I just enjoy watching things of like people's history.
Yes.
It just makes me like, why don't you just do some prequel stuff? You know what I mean?
For
Like make a
real.
series of like Ned when he's young, or everybody when they're young. Like I like stuff like that.
And that's what Martin wants to do with Bran in the next two books. Like half of the next two books is going to be information, just tons of backstory.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. I would read that.
Yeah.
So we're going to move over to Castle Black, where Alistair assures Davos that that everyone would be safe if they surrendered. And he also says, well, everything's fine, and the direwolf has been set free, which is total bullshit because Ed went to go get the direwolf in the previous episode, so he knows that they're lying to them. So they start hacking at the door.
He wants mutton.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Davos, his requirement is mutton.
I need some mutton.
He's such a charmer, man, Davos. He's so quick-witted. So Ghost is inside with Davos, and obviously Alistair's lying to them, so they start to prepare themselves to... they're going to breach the door, and then 1-1 and Tormund save the day, and 1-1 smash. Dude, seriously.
Yeah.
He breaks the door down, and then he grabs one of the guys, brothers, shoots him with an arrow, and he just grabs him, smacks him against the wall, and drops him at Alistair's feet, and that was fucking awesome.
And everybody drops their swords.
Yeah, like they got good at splattering blood. You know what I mean? They did a great job because like the gore in this season is beautiful. Beautiful.
So yeah, 1-1, my new favorite giant.
It's the shit.
He's the homie. And I'm going to call this little segment, I Am Lord Bolton. So we move over to Winterfell, and Ramsay kills Roose Bolton.
Fucking weak. So weak.
You think so?
So weak.
Well, yeah.
I think it was in character for Ramsay, though.
Roose wouldn't have left himself so open. This is Roose Bolton. Like, he wouldn't have been like, I have a son. And he, and I don't know what you're gonna do about it.
Yeah, I
and
can see that. He's just
no.
He's like, if anything, he's just fueling this fire in Ramsay of like he doesn't give a fuck about me. Like Roose doesn't care about me, and Roose is just kind of like, I have a kid on the way, and I could see that. And
for me it felt weak, but I understand they had to cut loose ends. So
yeah, especially after he said like, without Sansa, you're pretty much useless. Like
exactly to prove my point.
And Walda Bolton gives birth to a healthy baby boy, which we find out because the Maester comes in right when Ramsay stabs Roose Bolton. But Roose Bolton did tell him a quote. He said, you need to be careful of your actions because if you acquire a reputation as a mad dog, you'll be treated as a mad dog, taken out back and slaughtered into pig feed. Which is very like, he's not going to listen because Ramsay's Ramsay and he's going to do everything his way. But I thought it was very fitting for the rest of the season for him. So yes, he kills Ramsay kills Roose Bolton in front of the Karstark and Maester Wolkin, and the Karstark representative doesn't look surprised at all. He just knows that this was something that he was going to do. I guess I don't know if they had
cahoots.
No,
they were in cahoots or whatever.
And the Karstark's explanation why he didn't give a fuck was perfect for me. I love the way he said everything. Like the Karstark was like, look, I don't give a fuck about you or anybody. Like, I'm going to do what I got to do because I want vengeance.
And then he also said, like, this is about time there's new blood in the north or stuff. Like, no.
Yeah. And Ramsay tells Maester Wolkin to send ravens, saying that Roose was poisoned by our enemies. And I think just Ramsay goes up a level in pure evil this season. He feeds his new baby brother and mother to dogs, which I thought was super fucked up because he summons for Walda, and I don't know what were y'all's takeaways from that.
That was fucked up. Yeah, like she got caught up in like something that she shouldn't have been, and like it was her luck to end up with fucking Ramsay. Like I guess Roose treated her okay. Like she didn't seem like she was scared of Roose. Like even if they weren't in love or anything, it was still like a respecting. Because Roose is smart enough to know that he has to respect his wife, but Ramsay doesn't give a fuck, and yeah, ends up being killed for just being her.
The dogs need to eat.
Dude.
I mean, after her, I don't think they have to eat for
after
like
Miranda, no?
It's like, well, I mean, Miranda was like skin and bones, so then you
that's
got a
true.
whole buffet with Wanda.
And in the books, Roose predicts this scene. Like he says, once my son finds out, Walda's gonna have a baby, he'll probably try to kill me and feed them to the dogs. And it's funny how they do it in the show.
Yeah, shit.
Wow.
So we're gonna go over back to Castle Black, where Davos asks Melisandre if she can perform a miracle. He says he doesn't believe in her faith. He doesn't believe in her religion, but he believes in miracles, and she has performed miracles in the past. He's seen miracles done. So she goes, she performs a resurrection, and you think it fails. And then as the closing scene, as the scene closes, Jon Snow opens his eyes, and Jon Snow's back, guys. That was fucking awesome for me. I was yelling.
The gasp.
That was so cool.
Just like that.
It was like a fake fuse. Like it kind of took some time for him to come back, and then he came back, and I was like, oh shit, yes, finally.
And in the books, there's a prediction, like the book readers think that as Jon was dying, he warged into Ghost. And because Ghost is in the vicinity. And then when they were doing the resurrection, it works, and then he like wargs himself back into Jon. Like vice versa or something like that. Did I feel that?
Yeah. That's the thing. And in the books, Shireen is still at the castle, so we don't know if Shireen's gonna be burned to bring back Jon Snow in the books. Mm-hmm. But then in the TV show, she kind of had that one up free life still, because the snows really didn't melt. Like the Lord of Light, I think, allowed that sacrifice of Shireen to happen to bring back Jon Snow. So I think that's how it worked, because death pays for life.
Yeah.
Well, in the rules, you know what I mean?
The episode was called Home, and just some imagery for you. Ed comes home to Castle Black with the army of wildlings. Rick is going home to the Iron Islands after he helps Sansa escape. And Euron has come home to the Iron Islands. And deaths for this episode was Roose Bolton, Walda Bolton, newborn baby Bolton, and Balon Greyjoy.
All at their home.
All at their house, yes.
Shit.
Crazy. Episode 3, we have Oathbreaker. So we're going to start off in Essos for this segment. Daenerys is taken out of the hut from the ex-wives club, is what I called it. And she's just taken to the hut, and they're just telling her, like, you're a Khaleesi just like us, and
You're supposed to come here after you.
but you didn't, so you betrayed your oath to your call. It's just weak.
No, and then all the bitches are like, yeah, you're supposed to do this, but you didn't. Nah, it's like, bitches, you know who she is. You know what I mean? That's the whole reason Khal Drogo, like in the, I'm not even talking about the books. In the show, like, she did the impossible. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, whatever, bitch. Like, you're nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna just get past this because it was Daenerys' storyline is pretty boring. And then we go over to Arya, where she's learning to be no one, and she's straight up Jedi training, dude, with the staff. They're knocking her around, and she's predicting like attacks, and it's just cool to see because it's like Luke Skywalker with his lightsaber just deflecting.
In the book, she
training
cheats.
pelts. Does she? How?
She looks through the eyes of cats. So they can't believe. Like, she doesn't work into it. Like, she just uses their eyes. So she's fighting, but she's using like the animals around her to see. Kind of like the way Bran does it, like with all the different birds. Yeah. Arya starts doing that. So even well, he's not Jaqen Hagar in the book, but the kindly man, he's like the head of the faceless men. Mm-hmm. They're like, we don't know how the fuck she did it, but like they want to promote her because they can't believe she's doing all that because they don't know about working.
Yeah. That's cool. Crazy. That's a cool way. That's an interesting way.
I'm surprised they didn't throw it in there. I was like,
that's funny because they can like shift faces like no problem, and they worship the god of death or whatever, and then but warging is just like, what? You can do that?
Yeah, it's like it's foreign, and it deals with the first men too. So
the thing in the show is that the only one that can warg in the show is Bran.
Yeah,
in a sense, they don't actually say that everybody else can warg. In the Stark family.
Right, and then Arya doesn't have her dreams where she's Nymeria. Because when she sleeps, she goes into Nymeria.
Shit.
And she wakes up with like blood tasting in her mouth and shit. Yeah, no, it's good. The books are so good. Sorry.
That's cool.
Lots of details. I need to start reading the books because there's a lot of things happening between like people getting from point A to point B that we're missing out, and they're just hitting the. Yeah, I like all those details. So we're gonna go back to the north, and Jon Snow is officially back. He sits up, and we get some Jon Snow butt crack. It's not very cool this time around. Hopefully we get to see it again. Just saying. And so they get him dressed. He says he's not supposed to be back. Davos tells him that they summoned him back, and they ask him, "What did you see?" And he says nothing, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
To me, just knowing that nothing happens after you die.
Yeah, I think Melisandre's also asking for herself, like, what did you see? Like, is the Lord of the Light like the way? And he's just like, there's nothing. And she's just kind of like wants to keep asking him questions about it, but that's when I was like, hey, we need a moment. Like, we need a moment alone.
Yeah. So they walk Jon out, and he comes up to Tormund, and Tormund's saying to them, because all the wildlings are freaked out, saying that they think you're a god. He's like, no god would have a pecker like that. They saw him naked. Yeah. That's funny. It was cold, dude.
Yeah.
In his
Come
defense.
on. It happens. I know.
So we get a flashback of young Ned Stark and Howland Reed, which is Mira's father, who's also with Bran. And they see Sir Arthur Dayne, who was the greatest swordsman that ever lived. So you have to realize that of all the fighters that we've seen in the series, this guy was the best of the best. Yeah. And you see a glimpse of that later on.
A quick little tangent. I saw when I was doing research on the pictures for this last episode, I saw a tweet or a forum post that George R. R. Martin had answered. Somebody asked him, like, who was a better swordsman, Sir Barristan or what was it his name?
Rhaegar.
Oh no. The one right you talking about.
Arthur Dayne, Sir Arthur Dayne.
Yeah, it was. He was like, who's a better swordsman, Sir Barristan or Sir Arthur Dayne? And George R. R. Martin, like the official, I don't know if it's photoshopped or what, but like what I saw was that he responded like, if Sir Arthur Dayne has Dawn, then he does.
Yep.
But if they had like common weapons, like it would be a toss up. So just to mention back, like, because Sir Barristan was also touted as one of the greatest swordsmen, so. Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning that.
Yeah, Sir Arthur Dayne is kind of like that's why his name was Arthur, because he was like a play on like a badass. He is like the rock star of Westeros, like his family before they became the Seven Kingdoms. Like the Danes, the Sword of the Morning was like a very honorable position, and you would hold that sword. It's not Valyrian steel. It's made out of star metal. Like some meteor crashed and they made... No, really, dude.
So cool.
Now, and the thing is, they don't know if the sword is the same... There's a rumor or a theory that the sword is the sword that was used in the Long Night centuries ago, or millennia ago, to kill the old Night King. So that's why they don't know if that's... Well, in the books, not in the show, right? But like in the books, that the Sword of the Morning is there to slay the Long Night. So,
dude, that shit is fucking
lore
insane.
of this show.
Fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
So just to put like in a timeline, the Mad King is dead and Rhaegar lays beneath the ground. They tell them that in their conversations. So Robert's already killed Rhaegar, and that's a big like starting point. And he even says, "And now it begins." He's like, Arthur Dayne tells him like, "Now it ends," and Ned tells him, "And now it begins." Because literally everything starts from here on out until the end of this season. So
that sword fight
was amazing. 4-on-1
masterpiece.
Yeah.
And even watching him wield his swords and he would block. Oh, I was like,
that was freaking insane.
Wet dream of sword fighting.
And this is where Brandon's always telling you, oh, my dad would tell us about this fight and this story like over the years. And it looks like he's about to die, and he's on the floor, and then his
Arthur Dayne. I'm sorry,
no.
Howland Reed.
Yes,
gets the upper hand.
Yeah, he helps him out, and it's just like, did he tell him that detail? You know, he didn't.
That's
right?
why he kind of Brand's
like,
he's like, this is not the story.
Yeah,
that
he's
I
like,
was told.
Yeah, it's not. My dad was victorious in this, and then you see that,
and that's the only other person who knows the truth.
Yeah,
and he's alive.
And then Three-Eyed Raven was like, "Did he?" Like, my dad said he beat him. I was like, "Did he?" And that's when they show him like losing.
I like young Ned Stark, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
he looks
he's
freaking
cool.
awesome. To
They
me.
nailed it.
And his accent is so good. Like, I mean, maybe it's just his regular accent, but like, I just love that.
Oh, no, it's perfect. Good casting. Good casting.
Really good.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. So I thought it was kind of weird but then again, you see it later. But when Bran yells out, like, "Father," and he turns around, I was like, what the fuck? Can he actually, like, impact, like, time and space? I don't know.
Well, in the book that's mentioned, that happens in the book too. But it's always, as much as they try to interact in the past, it comes off like as wind rustling, or like a bird chirping.
So it never actually affects.
It never
It
affects.
just kind of gives you that.
Like it's
that
already
feeling,
written,
you know?
but in a way, it's kind of like you can put your impression.
And the three-eyed raven kind of mentions that too. He's like, maybe like, because Bran's like, oh, he heard me, and the three-eyed raven's like, no, he probably just heard the wind. And the three-eyed raven looks surprised when Bran yells out and Ned reacts. Like, he looks surprised about it too.
No, there's a part in the book that you want to cry. Like Bran's learning how to use the Weirwood network, the Weirwoods, and it's his dad cleaning his sword, and he's like, "Father, Father, I love you, Father." He's like he starts looking around. He doesn't have kids yet, Ned yet, right? So he's like, and then he looks at the tree and he kind of like knows it's the tree. Like there's something about the tree, and he's like, "Fuck!" So he just keeps cleaning his sword. He's like,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Instead of walking away, he's like, I need to finish this first.
I know, right? He's like,
And they take him out. They take the three-eyed raven takes Bran out of the situation, and he says, "Why? Why can't I see a little bit more?" He's like, "Because if you don't learn to let go, you'll never come back."
Yeah.
So
Damn.
it's a crazy
Oh fuck.
wisdom.
So loud.
So we go over back to Winterfell, where the Umbars have joined forces with the Boltons, and the Umbars, I think it's Small John Umbar, tells Ramsay how it is. He's like, "I don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about anybody else." He's like, "We just need to stick together, or else we're gonna fucking die."
Whether Roose is a cunt or was a cunt.
Yeah, Roose was a cunt. He was like, "Man, this guy's so ballsy," and he's so like, he was in Lord of the Rings, wasn't he?
Who?
The guy who plays Little John Umbar.
I don't know.
Because he looks like one of the main like guys from the new series, the one with the Hobbit.
Oh, and maybe he was in The Hobbit.
I think he's one of the main guys.
One of the dwarves, probably.
Yeah, pretty cool. So the Umbars hate the wildlings, and they use that as a common thing with Ramsay. And so he hands over a gift, and it's Rickon Stark. And they say, how can you prove that it's Rickon Stark? And they hand over Shaggy Dog's head, his direwolf's
Fucking
head.
cop
On
out.
a hook.
Yeah.
Fucking cop
On a hook,
out.
yeah.
This whole thing sucked.
Wait, so last time I saw Rickon, he said that they were going to the Umbers to find shelter there, right?
Yes.
So, so I guess that's when they found out that Roose takes over Winterfell, I guess, and then they kind of like, well, we have Rickon, so might as well just give him up and
Show our fealty, yeah.
But why it doesn't explain why the Umbers joined the Boltons, right? He doesn't really say why? Or is it because they killed Great John?
yes,
Yes.
Right?
They
Right,
killed
right,
his
right.
father, yeah.
because that's where the Clark Starks also joined.
That's right. Because I keep forgetting who... Because I thought Great John Umber was captured and the Karstark was killed.
Yeah.
Right?
Karstark was killed,
Yeah,
yes.
Karstark.
Yeah,
The
so
head.
the Great John Umber did... Well, because I'm getting confused with the book. Sorry, guys. He's supposed to escape or be captured by the Freys. So I don't know how it's mentioned in the series. Is he killed in the Red Wedding?
It happens later.
With the Great John Umber?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll probably get to that.
Oh, you mean so he's alive still in the series? That's what I'm asking. Sorry.
Not 100% sure. We'll see.
Because no, because really, like, it caught me off guard. I'm like, wait a minute, when did the Umbers turn? Why would they join? They hate the Boltons. Like, everyone hates.
I
the
think
Boltons.
this is what David said, that the Wildlings like are south of the
Oh,
wall.
that's right.
And they were like, we're the north. Yeah, because they said
That's
we're the
right.
most northern house, so they're gonna come for us first.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now, what's another cool lore is, what's her name? Osha.
Osha, yeah.
She really has Rickon on an island called Skagos, and they're like flesh eaters. They eat their own people, and they ride like goat unicorns. I don't know. We haven't been there yet.
Goaticorns.
But that's where she's keeping him safe. And guess who goes to rescue him? Sir Davos Seaworth in the books.
Nice.
In the books. So
Then we're going to go back to Castle Black, where as his last act as Lord Commander, Jon kills everyone who betrayed him, the four brothers of the Night's Watch. And, Alistair is Alistair all the way through, and he's still a cunt. And he says, he's like, my hatred for you was always real. And he doesn't give a shit.
I would have punched his face while he's fucking hanging.
I would have stabbed his eyes while he was hanging.
I like the quote he said, like, I fought and I lost and I rest.
And then Ollie with his little smug face.
No, Jon looks to him. Jon looks to him like maybe he can explain it. He gives him that glower. He's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah. And he just...
And I thought it was so cool. Like, as Jon walks away, he hands his
cloak.
his cloak over to Ed, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "My watch is ended." And I was like, "That's such a baller move." So now we're gonna go over to Westeros, where Qyburn is using Varys' little birds to gain info. He's using Varys' tactic in gathering whispers, so he offers sugared plums to these little kids to continue to feed him information.
I loved it. If I was a weirdo maester, I'd be just like Qyburn. Like, come children, let me give you chocolates.
Exactly.
Stranger danger didn't exist there, huh?
No.
Oh, no.
Sugared plums for your sugared bum.
I mean, at least it was in the Catholic Church. I mean, that's
better.
Damn. Shots fired.
Facts, though. So he sends his little birds off to the north, Dorne, Highgarden. Anyone making fun of the queen will die, and they make it very clear.
Sorry, let me add a little joke in there. It's a facts of Rome.
For the Catholic Church.
You can cut that if you want.
I'm going to leave it in there. And we're going to make it as awkward as possible. Olenna is in King's Landing to discuss the humiliation that the queen has endured. She tells Cersei that she's not the queen, and it fucking stings. Because they talk about how they're like, we heard about the queen's... the queen had been humiliated. And she's like, yes, I did have to walk for my atonement. She's like, we're not... I'm talking about the queen.
Yeah,
like,
bitch,
you're
what are you
not the
talking
queen.
about?
Not you.
Yeah.
And she takes like a hard, dry gulp. Just like, oh, you fucking bitch.
You are the most horrible person I've ever met. I love that she's so practical.
Yeah.
And so this episode was called Oathbreakers, and we had a lot of themes throughout the episode. Like Jon leaves the Night's Watch, breaks his oath.
He died.
Kind
died.
of, sort of.
It's a technicality.
Yeah.
He's a god now.
Not with that pecker.
The Umbars break their alliance with the Starks.
Yeah.
Daenerys didn't keep her word when Drogo died. The whore betrayed the Masters, and gave info to Varys. That happened earlier when Varys is using his leverage for her son against her. It was a small scene, but it was cool to see how Varys works when it comes to threatening people.
I did like that.
Indirectly. And then Alistair betrayed his vows by killing his own Lord Commander. And deaths for this episode were Gerald Hightower, Arthur Dayne, Alistair Thorne, and Ollie.
Fuck Ollie.
For real.
Fuck Sam. Nah, just kidding. Because he's the one that told Ollie in the very beginning. He's
It's
like,
true. It's true.
Kill somebody. Fucking kills.
Take this bow.
Yeah, take this fucking bow. Nah.
Episode 4 is called Book of the Stranger. We're going to start off in the north for this one, where Jon and Sansa are reunited. That's where I teared up. I'm like, fuck, finally 2 Starks get to reunite and
After so much loss.
And time
apart.
After not seeing each other since episode 2 or 3 of the season series until now. And then they're both they have a little bit of power, and that was so strong of a moment for me watching that back.
I just don't like when they do the whole stare at each other and then build up to the run up and hug. I mean, every show does this. Every movie does it. Okay, let's go hug.
It's good. It's because she didn't want to hug him because he was making more money than her.
Oh yeah.
For real, dude.
Brienne, Davos, Melisandre are back together, and Brienne knows about the blood magic, and Stannis' demise. She admits it's so funny to see them 3 who hate each other for different reasons, and their conversation that they had. I'm like, that's good, because she was like, I struck him down. That was Davos' king. That was Melisandre's chosen one that she helped support, and then everything that's happened because Melisandre sacrificed Shireen, and he's asking about the princess. It was so like awesome dialogue between the three characters,
and it was like you two killed Renly with Shadow Baby, and I executed Stannis. Like, and he's like, he even admitted it. Like when I asked him about it, was it before I struck him down? So they're just like, oh shit! Like we both killed each other's king.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good.
It was so I loved it, and that's just a preview of the shit that we get later on in the season because it gets awesome. Ramsay and Osha become friends, and then Osha dies. I thought they were going to get into it.
Yeah.
I really thought they were going to like hit it off because they're just both kind of weird. But I knew she was going to do whatever she could to survive. But I could have. I was expecting like blood kinks or something like that. You never know. So why was everybody upset that Asha died?
Because she's such a cool character, man. And then even the author, like George R. R. Martin was gonna include her in this series. Like he liked the actress so much, he started writing her more into the books, and then they kill her. So he's like, okay, assholes, like, because it's this rumor, right, that he told them certain characters needed to stay alive, and they killed him. Like every time he recommended something, they would do the opposite. So then he felt like, okay, now you're doing it back. Like I want to put this character in my books more, and then you kill her off. So it's kind of. That's why they didn't really work too much the last two seasons. They were kind of doing their own thing. The showrunners and the author.
Yeah.
Ramsay sends a letter to John and basically says, come get it, bastard. And that he has Rickon.
And he mentions bastard a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you're a bastard, you fuck.
Come and see.
Not really, because they legalized it.
Ah, come on.
Legalize it.
The letter to John is a lot more in detail compared to the show. But he talks a lot of shit in the book.
Oh, yeah. But, like, all the details are different. But, yeah, he talks shit. Like, you're a bastard. Everything is bastard. And it's like, I have Stannis' magic sword because he thinks he has Lightbringer.
We're going to move over to Westeros now, where Littlefinger is back in the Vale. And Royce calls out Littlefinger in front of
Lord
Aaron. And Lord Aaron's just preoccupied with the Falcons. He's like, can we make him fly? And this is a guy who's taking care of him since the day he was born. And it was just so weird to see, like, and it also says a lot about his character, but to see Littlefinger, like, manipulate on the fly. And it's just like, oh, he's so fucking vile.
He just thinks of every single thing that can happen, and then...
I love the way Robin's like, I guess he's okay. Whatever. I like the bird.
Yeah.
And I think the actor that plays Lord Robin, like last season he was still pretty short, and I guess he got a growth spurt between like this season and last season. So I see him trying to hunch down like when he's acting, because he's taller than Littlefinger at this point. So I'm just like, okay, like he still has that baby face, but he's taller. So if you watch it again, he's like hunching over like the Falcon,
and you notice it when he hugs Peter. He's like, Uncle Peter, and he's all like, he does it all deformy and shit. Like it's hilarious.
It still looks like he's got extra chromosomes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he's still sucking on his mom's titty.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes it up with his nose though, so it's pretty big too.
It's disgusting. So Littlefinger uses Royce to lead the army of the Vale to go protect Sansa, because he knows because he put her there that she's in trouble. And it didn't take very much convincing to get Lord Aaron on board.
He's like, I think we should go help her. And he's like, that's my thoughts exactly.
Tommen speaks to Cersei about Marjorie's atonement, and she is to be paraded through the streets just like his mother. Cersei sees an opportunity and uses Olenna's love for her grandchildren to prevent Marjorie's walk of shame. So they want to use military force to prevent
the walk of shame.
The walk of shame. And so... yeah, it's they're trying to turn it so that the Tyrells are the bad ones using military force and not the Lannisters. So that's why they kind of like tweak it that way. So like,
and they tell Kevin like when the Tyrells come, stand down. Like don't do anything. It's not going to be look bad on us because you're not doing anything. They are.
Yeah.
I would have charged with all the troops. Take them out. That's what we pay you for, soldiers. Take out all the Septons, everybody. I would have massacred all of them.
They just didn't. They don't have a Hand of the King that is smart enough to like do the PR part of it, which is like Tyrion could have been like they were psychopaths, and they were trying to
to put a spin on it.
Yeah, Tyrion could have spent.
They held the royal family hostage. You know what I mean? Like this would have been an easy fix. But
yeah, I agree. I'm the same. I feel the same way.
And I think Lady Olenna also had the same idea, like just because she mentioned something about like people dying, and it's like, well, rather them than us.
Yeah.
As always. We're going to go ahead and move over to Essos now, where Tyrion has invited all of the heads of the Masters to Meereen to use a more diplomatic approach than going and turning the Astapor and what's the other one?
Astapor, Meereen, and Yunkai.
And Yunkai into ashes because they could. And so he's going to use a more of a diplomatic approach and offers them 7 years to abolish slavery, and he will compensate them. Tells them to cut their bullshit with the Harpies, just as a slight under jab, because he knows that they are funding the attacks on the people of Meereen and on the Unsullied.
Yeah, and they're like, we're not funding the was it the Sons of the Harpies? Like,
sure you are.
Like, even if you're not, just stop.
Yeah.
See, and that's where I felt like Tyrion as a character was weak. Like, yes, he was negotiating, but when you see Tyrion scenes from the earlier, like especially when he's running King's Landing, he had like huevos, man. You know what I mean? And this was kind of, I felt like he pussyfooted.
Well, maybe
we'll give it what you want. I mean, I know he's in a foreign land.
Yeah,
but
that's what I was gonna say. Maybe he's in a foreign land, and like the way to fix this whole like centuries old tradition was to give something back and give them time, and I don't know.
And give them more of a chance to think about it. Now they have 7 years to think about how they're going to end it all.
Yeah.
Because their big goal is to get over to Westeros, which I agreed with everything that Tyrion did. Mm-hmm. I would have done the same thing.
And Grey Worm and Melisandre were disagreeing left and right. And after the meeting, Grey Worm's like, "Don't use me for your lies," because they were like, "You need to tell the." Oh, sorry, that was after this when they're talking to the people from Meereen, because they're outraged that they're working with the Masters now, and Tyrion uses Grey Worm and Melisandre to kind of convince the people of Meereen that they need to do this.
And he tells them, "I was a slave once too."
For how long?
Long enough to know how bad it is.
And in the books, he's a slave still. Tyrion.
He hasn't met. Daenerys
Jeez.
yet.
No, so he's like he is treated like a bitch slave, and his master, the one that owns him, he's like a freak show collector. So all the slaves he owns have like deformities or like scales or two heads.
Jesus.
And he's a huge fat man that can't even get up. So it's great. No, it's so
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, it's like a Jabba the Hutt. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Dario and Jorah sneak into Dothrak.
Yeah.
Pretty lame. It sucked.
Yeah.
Daenerys is threatened by the cows, and she threatens to kill them. And they said, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And she's like, "I'll burn you all alive." And she pushes over the. I thought it was wood, but it's like jugs of oil.
No, she was able to
work?
run around the whole thing. No one stopped her. And then they did like cheesy, like again, I used the 80s like filming. Like she would throw it and then you see them like, oh, you know what I mean? And she'd throw another one. They were like, oh.
This little.
Yeah, no, I mean, and she's not immune to fire. That's what I don't like what they do in the show. She's not immune to getting burned. She's resistant to heat, but she's not immune to fire.
Yeah, so she can grab the metal and it's not going to burn her, but the fire would kill her. It's so dumb. But anyway, she burns them all alive. It was pretty cool. And like a phoenix, she races from the flames.
Naked.
And yeah, naked again. And my barber was like, "Why isn't her hair burned?" I was like, "It's a show. Just let it go."
Her eyebrows are. No, I'm just kidding.
You gonna say something, Fern?
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't care as long as we got to see her naked again.
Now the Dothraki believe that she is a god. Deaths this season were Osha and Moro and the other 9 cows. Moro was a weak-ass Khal Drogo. Great value Khal Drogo. I mean,
and
he was poorly casted.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be the guy under Khal Drogo who finds her.
Oh, okay.
Calpono, I think his name is. Something like that.
Episode 5, The Door. In the north, jetpacking gets really bad for the rest of the season. And we realize it because Littlefinger literally goes from the Vale to Molestown, which is approximately 700 to 1,000 miles away in what seems like, well, to me it seemed like 20 minutes because I was watching the episodes back to back.
Yeah.
But he literally goes, which should take him about 3 weeks to do.
Yep.
And he does it in an instance. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? The Vale army is at Moat Cailin, which is still 700 miles away because he tells Sansa when he meets her. And I'm like, none of this makes sense. So how are you going to get an army that's 700 miles away to the north if you need it? I don't know. It's
yeah,
like,
and Moat Cailin connects the north and the Riverlands. Like it's like the Twins where the Freys are, and then it's Moat Cailin, and then it's like the rest of the north. So yeah,
weird. And Sansa tells Littlefinger to guess what Ramsay did to her because I don't think he knew of Ramsay, but he didn't know what he was capable of. And it was pretty fucked up.
And like the quote she tells him, like, if you knew about Ramsay, or if you didn't know about Ramsay, you're an idiot. And if you did know about Ramsay, you're my enemy or something. Like,
Yeah. She also says, you took me from the monsters that murdered my family and gave me to the monsters that murdered my family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fucked up. And Littlefinger is the master manipulator and plants seeds in her head, letting her know, like, how are you going to win this war with Jon's army? It's not your army. It's Jon's. And your half-brother. He also throws that little inkling in there.
remember you're a Stark.
You're a Stark,
Everybody's a Stark.
Yeah.
Stark. The way he says it.
Bran is green seeing and allows the children of the forest and follows the children of the forest. He witnesses the birth of the Night King and realizes that they were at war with the Northerners, which is like the
First
Men. And yeah, we see how he was made, which if you believe in the whole Bran is the Night King theory, you do see the gentleman who's like on the weirwood tree. He's just sitting there. So I don't know if he was paralyzed or whatever, and then they shoved the
obsidian.
dragon glass into his chest, and he turns into the Night King. So a lot of magical elements going on there, and it's kind of hard to decipher what was going on.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, I think there's a connection there.
And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but they're like, why did you do this? Like, we were fighting you, or like your people.
Men.
Yeah, men. So I don't know if she meant to like say like we were fighting you, like specifically you, and or like the universal royal you.
You as humanity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Bran touches the weirwood tree and sees the army of the dead, and he walks around really nonchalantly, like walking through, seeing all the dead, and then he sees the Night King on his horse, turns around, and when he turns back, the Night King grabs him by the arm, and now he's marked. So meaning he can track him. And he also kind of brings down the force field.
The protective enchantments.
Yeah, around the main weirwood tree in the north. And so it's on.
That was pretty fucking cool scene right there where he's walking through the army of the dead, right?
Yeah.
And then he turns around to them and they're like further away, or they're not even looking his way. They're looking another direction. And then he looks at the Night King, and then he looks back and they're looking at him now. And it's like just a creepy
real creepy.
scene. Yeah, it's real silent and creepy. And I'm just
Because like, how can he see Bran if Bran isn't really there?
Yeah.
Unless he's Bran. That's just, to me, it's just like...
Because as far as brand new, like, Ned Stark couldn't hear him, couldn't see him or anything. So why would they be able to as
He
well?
felt
Yeah.
protected. Yeah.
But I think that it explains why the Night King was able to see him, because he was infused with the magical elements of the Children of the Forest, which are like the main wargers of the world. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why the Night King was able to see, like feel the power being used.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he grabs him by the arm, and then he comes back to the main weirwood tree, and the three-eyed raven's like, "Oh, he touched you." He's like, "I don't know if he did." It's like, he touched you, and then Bran sees his arm, and it's the handprint of the frosted handprint on his arm. And it was like, oh,
In
shit.
real life. Like,
Yeah.
where he's at. Yeah. It's so weird. I hate when series introduce, like, time. Because I can't comprehend it whatsoever. Like, Fernie's tried to explain time to me, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
Whenever
the clock
you're,
moves
like,
1 hour,
jumping
and then
back.
another hour, and then but you mean time jumping?
60
Time
minutes,
jumping,
yeah.
yeah. It's messed up. I don't know. I can't comprehend it. So Jon, Davos, and Sansa plan to ask all the smaller houses from the north to gain their alliance back and to take Winterfell. Sansa lies about her knowledge about the Blackfish when they mention it, and she like flat out lies to Jon. like doesn't tell him certain details. So Sansa sends Brienne to call upon her uncle's Tully army without Jon's consent.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think Sansa lied to Jon?
I guess to maintain some kind of authority, like she didn't want to have to share her resources with him. That's what I think.
I don't know. I couldn't click. Like what I was like. I don't understand Sansa this season.
That whole plot line just flew over my head.
Yeah.
I just knew that for some reason she had to do that, or she did it. Like I didn't even mention it. I didn't even notice it. Sorry, until it was happening. I was like, oh, why is she doing this? Or why is Brienne going by herself? Or it was just like, oh, I guess this is happening.
Yeah. So and it was so weird because I'm like, why is she even going to send him to the Blackfish? Like, for what? I didn't get it.
Yeah, it was kind of a shitty little side quest. You know what I mean? It's like, eh.
Yeah. Sansa gifts a badass direwolf garb for Jon. Kind of makes him look like Ned a little bit with the hair tucked back and his little ponytail, whatever. Love the whole look. Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven are now downloading info like the Matrix style because he doesn't have enough time to learn the entire history because he was just going like moment by moment, but now he actually has to know everything that's going on because he needs to be prepared for the Night King. So when the Night King approaches, the Den, Hodor, Mira, and Bran run away from the army of whites with the help of the children of the forest. So Summer dies defending Bran, and we find out the origin of Hodor because Bran is warped into that one moment in time where where he sees his father and his uncle and Willis, and he sees Hodor start to freak out. Can you all explain this to me? Because I don't understand this whole time manipulating stuff.
Okay, so since Bran was trying to since Bran was in visiting the old time while Hodor was in danger, when he warged into Willis, it also warged into Hodor. Like he connected into both. So when the trauma happened to Willis, it permanently became like hold the door because Willis was experiencing Hodor's death. Mm-hmm. So he experienced his own death because of Bran, and he was still alive. As a little fat kid, you know what I mean? So I think that got shoved into him, and it broke his mind. Like Hodor.
So this already happened.
Yes, but it couldn't have already happened until it happened when Bran did it.
So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
What I think it goes to is like things, as much as we probably don't want them to, but the things probably work through destiny and fate. And like these things were destined to happen. And they're just reliving a specific moment in time. But time isn't just a straight line. It can just...
It kind of proves that Bran was meant to be the Three-Eyed Raven because he's Hodor when Bran's a kid. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that connection is there. It's kind of weird because Bran has to go back and see Willis to turn him into Hodor. You know what I mean? Like it has to happen like this self-fulfilling prophecy. But it shows like how important Hodor is for Bran later for him to become the Three-Eyed Raven.
Mm-hmm. And to survive.
To survive. So like that whole like cycle had to happen.
So that's what I was thinking about.
Doesn't
I was thinking about it the other day. It's like, yeah, like you said, like it does. Can Bran walk into Hodor because he's simple, or because he's simple because Bran can walk into Hodor? Like it's just like
it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like since I regularly mind rape you, I'm gonna mind rape you in the past now.
That's like the chicken and the egg.
Yeah, it is the chicken and the egg. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that. I hate it. It was so annoying to me.
Can we talk about that scene though? Like that kid knocked it out of the park for me. Like his whole like acting and just hold the door.
I cried.
I cried too. I watched it yesterday. I was just there like just crying to myself.
Fuck. Just hearing him hold the door, and then it's just like slowly becoming hold door. And I'm just like, oh shit.
And then cutting him to him like Hodor dying. And it's just like, oh.
When I first saw it, I yelled, "Oh, Nana, levántalo!" Like I went real Mexican. I'm like, how come no one's picking him up? Like he's there having a seizure.
Bo needs some milk.
I know. Oh, yes.
It was so messed up. And then moments later, there was like the memes of him playing like air guitar. What are you saying?
Oh, they got you.
But that kid, the actor kid, he got a lot of love when that episode first came out. So
And George R. R. Martin came out and said, like, somebody on a forum predicted that that's what I was going to do, and that's what I did. Like, he didn't know about that. He had seen it, like, later.
Just real quick, shortly after this, when I saw this episode, this scene and stuff, I looked up, like, all right, hold the door and all this stuff, right? Just because I wanted more of it, because it was just, like, so good and, like, awesome. And I just went into more of, like, the actors in real life and, like, how their relationship was because of the show, and then them having to part ways because, I mean, Hodor dies, you know what I mean? And it was just so loving and cool that, like, they still hang out. Like, to this day, they still hang out in real life, him and that.
Hey, Rave
Brandon
of Thrones,
Hodor.
bro. When he throws
Dude,
his raves.
Rave of Thrones. Dude,
I'm
it's fucking
serious.
awesome.
I always got a weird, like, Robin Big vibe from them. Not because they're, like, little and small, but just, I don't know, buddies. Kind of weird. So we're going to move over to Essos now, where Arya is still getting bested by the waif. This chick's like Neo from the Matrix, dodging all of her attacks.
Dude.
She just, like predicts all of Arya's movements. I don't know. I guess she's still predictable because she's still Arya. I guess that's the way we can look at
She's
it.
not knowing.
Exactly. And we learned a little bit about the Faceless Men, their origin. Do you have any information about the Faceless Men?
Yes. Okay, so when those group of ships escaped Valeria, it was a bunch of slave ships. They crashed where Bravos is, and they basically stayed hidden for like 100 years. Like, nobody knew those slaves worked there. And the reason why Bravos was so successful, it's kind of like the United States when it had its immigrants. Like, all the people that were slaves had a skill, like a carpenter and a builder, whatever. So they got together and they made the city. And in order to keep, like, their only defense was the Faceless Men, like training them. And so that's how the Faceless Men were brought together. They got all the knowledge and they used it to, like, for the killing arts and whatever magical properties they learned, they learned it with the group. And they brought down the entire empire of Valeria.
Oh, shit. Okay.
With killing 13 wizards. Yeah, who
just
cares?
like the greatest civilization that Westeros have ever seen. They just brought it down.
Yeah,
No
they
big
brought
deal.
it down.
No big deal.
So cool, dude.
Yeah.
They 9/11 the fuck out of that place. No, really, because they killed those dudes and the 14 volcanoes exploded at once. So it's like, oh shit. Even the dragons trying to escape burned. Like, everything died.
I remember the dragons from 9/11.
I think it was an inside job, though.
Yeah.
It had to have been. So Jaqen Hagar gives back Arya her eyes and gives her a test. She must assassinate Lady Crane, an actress from a local theater company, by poisoning her rum. Arya doesn't seem amused with the portrayal of Ned in the play that they're doing.
They made him
made him seem really dumb and
Arrogant.
yeah. And then the character just didn't play him.
And in the books, Northerners are kind of seem like dim-witted. Like, because they're so careful, not because they're stupid. They're just slower to react. Yeah.
And we also get a really close-up of a penis with warts on it, which I could have done without.
Yeah.
I thought the actor that was playing Joffrey, which is the one that had the warts on the penis, I thought it was a girl up when I first saw him, like, in the play. He looked like Kristen Wiig. I was like, Kristen Wiig's in this show? But yeah, he had warts, genital warts.
That's disgusting. Yeah. And then we go over back to where to Daenerys, where Jorah, after they free Daenerys, admits his love for her, and then she sends him away to find a cure for grayscale. Because how many times has he been dismissed at this point?
Like, this is the fourth time.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So she dismisses him, and I kind of had like I felt like she genuinely cared for him, but as a friend. In this moment,
I think she loves him, but not as a romantic relationship like Jorah does. But she does care for him because she's crying, and Jorah's like, "All right, farewell, Khaleesi," and then Daenerys is like, "Don't walk away from your queen." Like, she gives him a purpose to come back. Like, she knows, like, if I let him go now, he's just gonna end it. Like, he's not gonna find the cure. He's just gonna end it. He's not gonna try to look for one. So she gives him the task of find the cure yourself, and come back to me.
I would have been like, you're on your own, bitch. I'm like, you're gonna yo-yo me anymore. Because what, I'm gonna come back cured, and you're gonna be like, oh, now leave me because you're cured. I can't stand your face. No.
Westeros. Yara has gone to the Kingsmoot to claim the Iron Islands because she's not entitled to it because it doesn't work the same way as like an heir to the throne. They have to go through the Kingsmoot in order to qualify, which they're basically committing suicide and if they survive drowning, then they're chosen by the gods, I guess.
And it's more of a nomination process, right? Like
Correct.
Yep.
So Theon pledges his support for Yara's claim to the throne. Euron says that he needed to kill Balon because he wasn't doing anything with the Iron Islands, and under Balon said that Balon wasn't doing anything to help support the Iron Islands, so he had to get rid of him so that they could actually do something, make a name of themselves, because they haven't done anything. Then Euron says that he wants to seduce Daenerys with his fleet, and where the hell did all this come from? I don't get it. Like, he just knows about Daenerys. I guess, like, people talk about her or whatever, but and I know he's been all over the place, but I don't get his whole his motives.
Doesn't he mention when he kills Balon that he came from the east? Doesn't he mention something like that? I think it's just like a little sentence is thrown in there.
Oh, I may have missed it.
Yeah, that kind of explains, like, yeah, I just came from over there.
he said, like, he mentions, like, in other episodes that he's like the greatest captain in the 14 seas.
14 seas.
So I mean, it would make sense that he goes to a port city, he hears about it, like, and even Cersei gets ravens about like Daenerys' movements and stuff like that. So I mean, it would make sense that people would
talk.
You know what? And I'm glad you're bringing that up because the books does a great job of always throwing in rumors, like news. But it's always wrong. It's all like, oh, she has 6 dragons and she burned every child alive. You know what I mean? You know it's a lie, but like there's always like there's constant gossip in Westeros.
Yeah, because
Loss of translation.
Even further in the season when Arya's walking through Bravos, she hears whisper like people talking about Daenerys, like, oh, I heard she has 3 dragons, like in the background. I mean, I guess that would be part of it.
Yeah. So, like I said, the King's Moot was kind of lame. I expected something bigger, something grander, and it was super lame. And the guy who played like the Maester for the area, I don't know what he was, second in command, super dead in the face. I don't know. I didn't really care for him.
The Maester or the priest?
The priest. Okay, priest.
The priest. Yeah. Okay, because with the Ironborn, and this is cool. When you get drowned, it's a blessing. If you come back to life, it means the drowned god chose you. But they have the kiss of life. Basically, they're the only people in the world that know CPR, the Ironborn. So they perform it, and if you come back to life, it means that the god like kissed you back to life.
Yeah.
But only the priest can do it. So only like the priests know CPR. So in the books, the Ironborn will be like, well, I've been drowned 4 times. So that means you're like super chingon. Like every time you're drowned and come back, you're like a badass. And
so if you're a horrible swimmer, you're a badass.
Yeah. Right.
And it's funny because Euron was just like laying there, like drowned, and everybody's just staring at him like, fuck, he's not coming back. And then he finally like coughs up the whole water. And before that, he mentions like, you make me your king, and I'll go get Daenerys, give her a fleet, give her my big cock, and then we'll take over Westeros like that. Like, because we need we're gonna be king and queen. So that was his whole motivation of like getting a queen for himself. That's and powerful.
As he's going through the King's Moot, or he's laying on the sands dying, Yara and Theon go and they steal all the ships.
I love that part. The escape scene was cool.
And so he's like, all right, my first order after they crown him King of the Iron Islands is let's go kill my niece.
Let's go murder them.
Yeah. Yeah, like the word murder.
But then he gives his cronies, I guess, he tells them, I need you all to build me 1,000 ships. And I was like, bitch, where, dude? You're on the fucking Iron Islands.
There's
no trees.
Yeah, I want you all to go this and get all your trees.
I'm like, and think how long it would take to create one ship. How the fuck are you going to make 1,000 ships?
I was thinking about this earlier this morning because I was just like, oh, that was a question I had in the back of my head. And I was like, I mean, in the story, whatever, like in the show, they move it along to get the story going. So no problem there for me. But to be like realistic about it or whatever, like they're the greatest naval force in the world. So it would make sense that they have like some awesome
manufacturing, like
we can make this and we can do that as fast as we can.
One exists exactly. They're able to build 2 boats a day, which is very impressive, and it's in Bravos. It's like a huge barn, right, that connects into the ocean. And the way it's kind of described, like they have a place where all the wood gets in, all the nails. It's like an assembly line.
Yeah.
But they can make like 1 or 2 boats a day, like completely made.
Shit.
How the
So
hell
how are they
gonna
gonna do
build
1,000?
I mean, how did they build the pyramids
Even if they could,
in real life?
1,000 days.
About 1,000 years.
That we got to talk about later because I have a lot of information on that.
I mean, I don't know. It's
Just dumb to me. This whole King's Moot storyline fucking sucks. Deaths this episode was a White Walker, the Three-Eyed Raven, Leaf from the Children of the Forest, and Hodor, aka Willis.
R.I.P.
Mira carries a White Walker in the cave, right? With
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's why the White
Okay,
I
yeah.
With the
put,
dragon glass, right? The
yeah.
arrow?
the spear. I
Oh,
think
the
she throws,
spear.
she
That's
throws
right.
at him.
Yeah. So, yeah. Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. The North. Mira and Bran walk through the woods as Bran continues to download hundreds and hundreds of years of history, like
In
digitally,
flashback.
in flashbacks. And the flashbacks were awesome. They show a lot of cool things. They show Aerys, the Mad King. They show Jaime. They show dragons. They show the First Men. It's so
It's cool, man.
cool, yeah. And to break it down frame by frame and see like all the things that they were.
Can
that he was
I
going
talk,
through.
can I talk about a theory concerning that flashback?
Of course.
I know people. I mean, I don't know people, but I heard this theory where Aerys had a vision of the White Walkers like coming down and taking over Westeros, so that when he was saying like burn them all, like that's when his madness. It wasn't his madness taking over. It was maybe a combination of his madness and the vision of the White Walkers and saying like burn them all, like them as the White Walkers and not the people.
Yeah.
I just forget where I heard this theory, so I can't go like further into that. So I don't know if I know it has something.
Go ahead.
Okay, can I jump into this
Yes.
one? Okay, it's not. Well, this is a book one. It's not Ares. It's Aegon. No, wait. The son. The one they kill on the Trident. Prince Rhaegar. Prince Rhaegar is the one that finds out about the White Walkers. That's why he becomes a knight instead of a scholar. He learns to be a badass fighter. That's why we think he kidnaps or gets with Lyanna Stark. Because the Song of Ice and Fire has to be completed, like the fire in the eye. You know what I mean? Like snow and.
I'm gonna start. Yeah.
So that's kind of, but that's interesting with I've never heard the Ares one, but it kind of if they do it in the show, that'll be badass.
Because I think maybe it was just me trying to like put things into perspective with that theory where it shows the White Walkers and then it cuts to the Mad King saying burn them all, like a flashback of him saying burn them all to Jaime. So like it just like it's like one after the other. So you you can connect them if you want.
Yeah.
Or maybe I decided like in a different order, but I put them together.
Since I don't get time or anything like that, I heard a theory about Bran going into a vision and tapping into his name's Aerys, right?
Ares.
Ares' head, and he sees flashes. That's where he gets the visions, and then he's like, "Oh shit! Like burn them all, and he starts to freak out. And
Yeah.
Jamie's like, "This is uncharacteristic of him," and so that's why everything started.
Yeah. So
The Game of Thrones.
I think that's what it is. Then that's the theory I was.
that
going.
Bran had accidentally tapped into him, like trying to work into him instead of being like a roach on the wall.
And that's when his madness started, or his madness.
yeah.
Shit.
Well, but then my only anti thing for that, not trying to be a cockblocker, but is that he already killed the Stark brothers and the dad. Like he burned them alive and shit, so he was already kind of kooky.
I mean, he used to be a cunt, you know.
Yeah. Or maybe he became more cunty.
I mean, don't they say that Targaryens also did like incest and stuff? So that
Yeah.
I mean, if Joffrey's a representation of it,
And they say they kind of
Kinda
it's
fucking
like
crazy.
every Targaryen you get, it's like you flip a coin.
Yeah.
Either they're going to be the coolest ruler or psychos.
yeah. It's because like I'm saying, Joffrey and then Marcella and them. They were okay.
What, inbred, yeah.
But Joffrey was fucking crazy.
And then we get introduced to Cold Hands, aka Benjen Stark. I say Cold Hands because that's his name in the books, correct?
Well, yes, but when someone found that like manuscript George R. R. Martin wrote forever, the editor asked him, "Is Cold Hands Bran?" And it says no. So we don't know if it's the same in the book, but in the show it is.
Benjen?
Yeah, Benjen. Sorry, not
And
Bran.
Benjen is Ned Stark's brother,
yeah.
older brother,
Younger.
brother?
Younger brother.
How is he kind of like dead but not dead?
Well, it doesn't explain, does it?
He
Because his
says,
face looks like it's gashed and like cold and like,
he says later that it's the same. They used the Children of the Forest found him, and it was the same thing. They kind of turned him like into White Walker, but not. So he's like semi-undead.
I think he fought like a White Walker. Oh, not a white. Yeah, like a White Walker. Or one of the kings, like one of the main ones, not the just the zombie ones. He lost, and that's when the children found him and put that obsidian in his heart.
To keep him alive somewhat. So going over to Westeros, Sam and Gilly have arrived in Hornhill, and fucking Hornhill is badass. One of the most badass places we've ever seen.
Yeah. This whole time,
and it's huge, so huge.
Yeah.
He's so humble too.
Yeah, he's
like,
so my father and this and then you just see this grand place, and he just also walks in like that's nothing new, but it's just like holy shit, like
yeah. So like the Tarleys clearly have the best house we've ever seen. And what were the Tarleys famous for? Like, why are they so rich?
They're part of the Reach, so they're like wealthy with agriculture, and then they're just badass warriors.
And they're part of the Tyrell,
yeah,
bannermen, right?
Right.
And I think the dad Tarly was also the only one that defeated Robert Baratheon in battle.
And the Tarleys are known for there's always a good warrior in the family. That's why they have a Valyrian steel sword.
Oh,
yeah, because they're like chingones. Mm-hmm. But they were always and they were known for their loyalty. Very loyal family.
We get introduced to Sam's mom and sister, and I'm like, oh, it was a very warm welcome, and like I was like, it was like me going to go see my mom. She was like kissing me on the cheek and hugging me, and and then oh my god, your grandson,
the baby,
like,
hold him.
Yeah, it was so like heartwarming, and then you flash forward to the dinner scene where they're sitting there.
His dad is just fucking perfect position right there. He's just judging him with his body language.
Unimpressed. And
yeah. He's like, you're still fat.
Yeah.
I thought sending you to the wall would
make some of a man, make you into some type of man or something.
Yeah, and then they offer him bread. He's like, you need more of that?
Yeah.
you're fat. It's crazy. So he's a complete dick. And then his brother seems kind of cool.
Dick on.
Oh. That's a good pun. We get introduced to Dick on Tarly also, and he seems like a cool guy, but you can tell that he's intimidated by his father, and he wants to follow in his father's footsteps.
Yeah,
so
because he doesn't add to like Sam's humiliation by his father, but he doesn't say anything either, like his mom does, and they find out that Gilly's a wildling, and it's just
like he does nothing to defend his brother either. You know what I mean? Yeah, like he's just kind of there, like dad is a fucking badass, kind of. So. Like badass as in like he's a cool motherfucker. Like in war, he's a hard ass. Yeah, I want to be accepted.
Yeah, and so it's so funny how Randall tells him like, you see that sword? That sword's been in our family. And it's called Heartsbane. It's just a Valyrian steel sword. So we know that Valyrian steel swords are super important in this story. It tells him that it's been in his family for 500 years and it'll never be his. I was like, fuck, dude, this guy's an asshole through and through. And so Sam and Gilly leave, and he despises Gilly because of her being a wildling, which she the first thing he says is, don't say you're a wildling. The first thing she says, she found him north of the wall at a keep. He doesn't say what keep though. So they leave Hornhill and steal Heartsbane. So I don't understand the whole point of this thing. I know he wanted to leave Gilly and little Sam with his family for protection while he goes to Old Town, but I don't know. I know it's super critical that they stole Heartsbane from his family, and for I guess the wars to come. But
I think before that, the motivation
felt a little
was
pointless.
That they're going to Oldstown for Sam to become a maester, and they don't allow women and children inside the citadel where they go study. So his plan was to leave him at his home to be taken care of, and even the dad says like, out of respect for your mother or something, like she can work the kitchens and he'll be raised here. The bastard will be raised here, and Sam's about to leave, and then he's like, "Fuck it, no, this all go together." Like, and then he steals the sword.
Yeah, I think the stealing sword might just be him getting back at his dad for once.
It's maybe. Like a fuck you. Like, Sam's motivations are like a fuck you to his dad, but it's important for later on.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think he knows that.
Yeah. No, and I think Sam is kind of like, motherfucker, I killed a White Walker. There's like 15 of these guys in the universe, and I killed one. What have you done? Nothing.
But sure, of course, nobody believes him.
No. Yeah. Sam the Slayer.
Of course not. Jaime and the Tyrell army arrive at the Sept, and we get revealed that the Crown and the Sept have joined forces. Tommen has sided with the faith because he basically says like your mother had to do her atonement for her sins, but you're innocent because you had nothing to do with it. Like it's not like you're cool, but your mom's a cunt, and she had to pay for it. And everybody needs to pay for their sins. And if you think about it on the grand scale of things, he's right. Like unless you're gonna hold everybody to the same standard, like there will never be peace in that area. And so that's why I kind of sided with the sparrow and that scene. But typically I was just like, no, just fucking kill this guy. But yeah, it was really cool to see them like stand side by side. And yeah. So Tommen relieves Jaime of his duties as the head of the Kingsguard. And then Jaime and Cersei kind of plot to destroy the Sept. They just don't really tell you how or why.
Well, Cersei just tells him like they need to be all destroyed. You know what I mean? And
they need to wipe them all out.
Yeah.
And Tommen sends Jaime to recover the castle from the Blackfish that they lost. The Freys have lost, which is what castle was it?
In the Riverlands,
The Tully Castle.
Yeah.
I still know all the names.
He's like, you're not gonna serve at
River Run.
It's like you're not gonna serve here, but you're still gonna serve your king. So we need you to go over there.
Yeah.
So he makes him like pretty much like the head of the army, but not of the Kingsguard.
No, what's awesome in the book, when Jaime goes, you meet his aunt, you meet Tywin's sister, and she's fucking cool. Because there was this rumor going around saying that Tyrion was actually the son of the Mad King, and that scene like says no, he's a Lannister. Like it puts it for
How?
Because she says, well, Jaime, you were like this. The person that was really Tywin's son was Tyrion. If anyone was as intelligent as him, it was Tyrion. Tyrion knew what he was doing. You followed your passions. Like she just told him off. Like, look, Tyrion was the badass. It's just too bad he was born a midget. Like, but besides that, he was the Lion of Lannister.
That's so fucking cool.
Like she's married to a Frey, and he's all like wimpy, and she's like, shut up. Like she tells him shit, and he does whatever she says. It's a great scene.
He's a Frey?
A Frey? Yeah,
Oh,
she
wow.
marries a Frey.
Yeah, and like later on when they're in Riverrun and he's talking to Emir, he's like, I was always a slow learner. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, that kind of makes more sense with the background of the books and yeah.
So now we're going to move over to Essos, where Arya's enjoying the play again, and she's enjoying watching Joffrey die again, because he's there like after he drinks the poison. And Arya basically figures out that the understudy wants Lady Crane dead, but doesn't really know why. So she goes to the back and investigates, goes back empty-handed. She did not kill Lady Crane by poisoning her rum, so she fails her mission, and Jaqen H'ghar basically says, like, you failed. Am I missing anything?
Mm-mm.
And then the Waith starts to hunt Arya down because she gets permission from Jaqen H'ghar to go ahead and take her out because she did not provide a death for the
faceless god.
The
many-faced god.
And she abandoned them
The
also.
mission.
Like just the mission, and she didn't go back to the house in black and white. Like she kind of like finds a little.
She took her sword from where a needle. Remember when she first arrived, she put needle in like this rock and then took needle out and went to this little like corner thing.
Yeah.
With like a candle, and she kind of just sleeps with needle, paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also puts her hair like, because she made a decision like that Ned would make. Like she made a really hard decision, but it was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like the girl was innocent, but they did want her dead. So, and she also has her hair kind of pinned back like Ned.
My only thing is, how in the fuck did that understudy pay for a faceless man? Because like kings pay king's ransoms for a job. So I don't know what this little bitch paid to kill that lady. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I guess it depends on like the importance of the person being killed. Like if it's just like another peasant or like another actor, like it's not as much as another like something that a king would want. Like if it's like,
True.
Oh, I want another king dead or prince dead or somebody important within.
Yeah, but calling in the faceless man is kind of like, you know, getting... I don't know, like
Maybe it was to gain her skills because she was a great actress.
Yeah, maybe to get the
True.
face. Like they just need the... there's quality faces in some people.
Yeah,
maybe
because
hers is one.
I don't think they do like a just like, okay, like you pay us whatever. I think that we said like they have a purpose for them. Like we can kill this person and we also would get whatever, like her acting skills or.
That's true.
And
You're
then she's
right.
popular in the city because people like watching the play. So maybe her having that face is like, nobody's gonna think anything of you. She's just an actor.
Yeah.
That's true.
Shit.
So we're going to go over to Marine, where Daenerys plans to take her army across the Narrow Sea. And she says she needs 1,000 ships. It's so cheeky how she says she needs 1,000 ships in the episode before. That Euron says, I need 1,000 ships. I was like, yeah, that's so fucking lame. The writing was horrible. But she does give a powerful speech and to the Dothraki saying, like, will you cross the
Great Salt Sea.
Salt Sea for me? And everybody's all gung-ho for her as she sits on her dragon. And to me, that's when she became a conqueror. Like, she nailed it. She got everything that she wanted. Now she's ready to go to Westeros. And deaths this episode was Aerys Targaryen in the flashback that we see for the Mad King. Episode 7, The Broken Man, starts off with a cold open. We've only gotten like a handful of these throughout the series. And we find out that the Hound, a.k.a. Gravedigger from the books, is alive. Mm-hmm. And we haven't seen him since the end of Season 4, where he was bound and broken, I think. That was in that episode. So, yeah, and I really enjoy how HBO reuses actors to fill like roles in other series under their banner. Like Mayor Carcetti from The Wire is played by Littlefinger.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever seen the Wire, it's a great series. I recommend it.
Some of it, but I
And the priest in this episode, which is Ray, he's played by Ian McShane, a.k.a. Al Swearingen from Deadwood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was cool like to see like these crossovers with some of their talent. We're going to go over to Westeros, where Marjorie's trying to convince her mother to go back to Highgarden because she realizes that at this point, we see that she's playing the Seps game. Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't know if it was the acting or maybe it was the writing, but I didn't think she was doing a good job of bullshitting. Did you all get that?
And I think it was intentional because even the guy kind of knew. He's all like, the High Sparrow. He's like, well, then read this. Well, then, just because you know it doesn't mean you feel it. You know what I mean? I liked it.
This is also with where Marjorie's talking to her grandmother, Olenna, and they have that nun, right?
Yeah,
she's standing around her. Yeah. And right there is where she's like, no, you have to get the fuck out of here.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole season.
Because
that's one of my favorite scenes.
Because Sparrow kind of says like, oh, your grandmother like is also like he kind of like threatens like maybe you will arrest your grandmother, and that's when she goes to see her and like tells her to leave, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna leave. You guys are
she still
here.
doesn't get La Onda, and then she's just like, no, pulls her kind of close, like,
and gives her the rose drawing.
Like she's still
loyal to the house, yeah.
She's still a Tyrell at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think she's doing a great job of bullshitting the High Sparrow. Cersei tries to make amends with Olenna and asks for her help. And then Olenna pretty much shoves everything in Cersei's face. Like, it's your fault that everything happened. Mm-hmm. And it's true. Everything happened because of Cersei's ignorance. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you can't fuck with Olenna.
You're a horrible person.
Yeah.
You're one of the most, what did she say? Like, you're the most horrible person I've ever met.
Yeah, she's like, and I remember a lot of the most horrible people, and you're the one, like, you're one I will be remembering for a long time.
Yeah. Fucking awesome.
Fuck.
And
Cersei.
just like that, Jaime and Bronn arrive over in the Riverlands, so they can take over the siege from the Freys. And it's so funny how the Freys army allow 8,000 soldiers to sneak up on them, like on horseback. And it's just like, they were looking like, oh, cool. Like, you don't know who I am, or you don't know what we're trying to do. And I don't even think they knew that they were sending the Lannister army over.
I like how Jaime was like, or Bronn was like, well, this is the lame excuse for a siege, or whatever this is.
Yeah, so the Lannisters show up and they go ahead and take over the whole operation. So now we're going to move over to the north in this episode. This is kind of a short episode. Jon tries to recruit the wildlings to fight for his war, trying to get back the north. Just to reiterate what he was saying, he was like, if we don't take over the north, then we can't, our forces we're all going to be fighting each other. We can't get the wildlings and the north to fight with us against the White Walkers if we can't get everybody back on board. So they need to take out, we need to take back Winterfell. And then we also get introduced because they go all over the north in the span of an episode, we get introduced to one of my favorite characters in the entire series, Lady Mormont.
Love her.
She's such a fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like, no bullshit. Just
Bear Island, right?
yeah, from Bear Island. Yes, who is she to Jorah? His little sister.
No, niece.
His
Yeah?
niece.
His niece.
Okay.
Yeah, because the sister fought for Rob and died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lady Lyanna Mormont from Bear Island is a total badass, and she can only offer 62 men, but they fight with the.
Well, what I like is the build up to it of like them trying to come on, like let's join forces, let's fight, let's do this. And Davos again,
he's great in that scene.
He sweet talks it with her. He knows how to talk to her, which is probably practice from talking with Shireen.
Right.
And then after the whole thing, okay, how many can you offer? 62. And I'm just
62?
what the
Like
fuck?
62 ships? I was like, what?
Yeah. 62 bears at least.
on bears.
That would have been cool. They rode bears into battle and shit.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so it was cool to see, but that she has their backs 100%. Then we jetpack from Bear Island to Deepwood Mott, which is super far away. Yeah, in the span of like 30 seconds. And they go speak to the head of House Glover, and House Glover declines Jon and Sansa's plea. And then she says, I need you to send Sansa sees that they're failing at their negotiations with the other houses, so she sends a raven over to Littlefinger, but for what? We don't know.
I wonder.
We don't know. And then over in Essos, we have Arya. She wants to head home, but the T-1000 waif has other plans and stabs her in the belly. And then she has like this nice little old lady's face on, and then she just stabs her.
Oh, that was so freaky when I saw that part. Like she's all smiley, then wham, wham, with the shiv. Mm-hmm. Not even a knife, it's like a shiv.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, the waif just wanted to play with her. She knew she can get the best of her, but she wanted to hunt, and it was pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she runs like a Terminator robot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fucking kind of bad, but weird.
Yeah. And deaths for this episode were Brother Ray and the villagers. And as far as like broken men to carry the theme for the episode, Yara asked Reek to become Theon again. He's just a broken man. The Hound is actually nice now, not too much of a cunt. The Blackfish is willing to lose it all just to save his home, but he's just a broken man. Like he has nothing really. He just has his home. Mm-hmm. And Jon appears to be broken when speaking to the leaders of the North because he's not a very good negotiator. But Davos is. So for their sake. Moving on to episode 8, No One. We're going to start off in Essos in this one. Arya is saved by Lady Crane. It was so weird to see like Lady Crane walk off stage, and then I just didn't know where it was going because we know that Arya had been stabbed in the last episode. And she finds her like sitting in the back of the playhouse, I guess, and takes her over to her place and gives her milk of the poppy to help her sleep and to recover, and lets her know like Arya asks her, how do you know what you're doing when it comes to like bandaging up wounds? And she's like, oh, I'm a very jealous woman.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I'm a jealous woman, so when my lover would come home smelling of perfume and glitter, I'm just kidding, stripper glitter, she would basically beat him up and stab him and shit. So she had to learn how to heal up his wounds because she loved him. That's pretty cool. What's up? Glitter. And then we have this weird like goodbye between Varys and Tyrion, and I was just like, where the hell is he going in that episode? It just didn't make any sense. It was just like so random that he would go off somewhere when there was no discussions as to where he was going to go.
Oh yeah.
But we find out later. So going back to Arya, she faces the T-1000 waif again, and she has that crazy like brutal fall when she's just jumping. They're doing like the parkour stuff. She jumps and she just lands on the stairs and just rolls all the way down. And everybody's like, my oranges. It was like a really fucked up scene. But yeah, I love how Arya fights her in the dark because she had to fight her blind this entire time. And so when she lures her into
that little area where she was sleeping and staying and shit.
Yeah.
She just the little candles on and she just...
But remember, but this is what I found poetic. She became Arya to defeat her. Mm-hmm. She wasn't no one. She became Arya. Like, fuck you. I'm going to fight you my way, bitch. Mm-hmm. I'm someone.
Yeah. She is Arya
I loved
Stark.
it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was good.
I was good. I could kill that bitch.
Yeah.
And then we follow a trail of blood, which I also put in here, poetic. We follow a trail of blood where Arya has added the wave space to the wall. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's kind of disrespectful because like they're very sanitized and then there's blood everywhere now.
but and the guy's like one head or another, one face or another. He's all like, well, I think he said that
God,
earlier, right?
Yeah, the many-faced God will be happy with the sacrifice. So it's all good.
And he's still and he's still saying, now you are no one, right? Or he's still, and she's like, no, I'm Arya Stark.
Which I wouldn't think that it would let her get away with that. That's why I still feel like this storyline's still going.
Yeah, it seemed they didn't know how to close it. It's kind of like, I'm Arya Stark, and he's like, he nods at her like, okay.
Maybe it's that like both of them come to a understanding, and it's like he can help her in the future again, like he did in the past.
Because it's like, you know what, you won't be no one, but at least you know. You know what I mean? At least you know who you are. So I guess we're okay. Like you learned what you needed to learn, and you brought.
I guess that makes more sense because like that gives me more closure. Because I really felt like, how the hell is a League of Assassins gonna let an assassin leave with their secrets and their trains and all, like their traits and stuff like that?
Exactly.
I couldn't get that. So jumping back to Westeros, Cersei's summoned by the High Sparrow. So he sends his sparrows out to go bring her in, and she uses that famous word from the trailer. Is like, I choose violence. Like, are you gonna come peacefully or do you choose violence? Yeah. So she chooses violence, and the mountain strangles and rips off one of the sparrows' heads, which was fucking brutal.
I love that scene.
That was so cool. She's just standing there like with a little smirk on her face. She's so fucking horrible.
And when the dude stabs him, I think when you see the blood, it's like black, like the mountain's blood. Like you see a little blood come out. Remember the sparrow stabs him with that like pick in the stomach. If you look at the blood, it's very, very dark,
like coagulated.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's dead already.
So yeah, she also invites the High Sparrow to come visit her in the Red Keep whenever he wants. I was laughing out loud.
I love that part
because everybody looks fucking terrified. So we go back to the Riverlands, and Jaime and Brienne are reunited again. This is like a reunion that we've all been waiting for since season 3, I believe. And it speaks a lot about their mutual respect for each other.
I still think they're secretly in love, but it was an important meeting because that's where like you see how Brienne is an official representative of the North, and she's there telling Jaime like, look, we're on the opposite sides. You can have your sword back, and he's like, no, you have more honor than I do. You keep it.
Like, it's called Oathkeeper, and Jaime tells Brienne like, I'm proud of you for keeping your oath to Lady Stark. Like, you found Sansa. And she's like, oh, thank you. And then and she asked like, can I go talk to the Blackfish? If he agrees to surrender, like, can you give me your word that you're not gonna kill them as they head north, because they want his army to head north to fight with Sansa and Jon Snow. And she, like he said, she tries to give him the sword back. He says no, like, it's yours. And I like how she didn't even hesitate. She just like put it back on because it's a fucking badass sword. So why would you?
Dude.
And then she tells him like, if it comes down to it, like if it doesn't work, like I'm gonna feel compelled to fight for Sansa's kin. So I'm gonna fight against you if he says no.
Yeah. And so. And so they're trying to get the Blackfish to surrender peacefully. So Jaime meets with the Blackfish. It doesn't go as he planned. So they use the bargaining chip, which is Edmure, because they have him held hostage. And so Jaime speaks to Edmure about the way he loves his family and how he's going to do anything for Cersei, because now that she's in command, and mentions to him about his wife having a son, and so his heir is also important to him. So they kind of put this whole like family perspective, like, look, I'm doing what I do for my family, you're doing what you're doing for your family. And a mother, he even says like, and the love a mother could have for her children, like Catelyn's love for her children, Catelyn's love for her children. She started wars for her children. She freed her own enemies to save her children. So come on, man, like, side with me. And that's like his aunt, right?
Yeah.
Edmure's aunt.
Edmure's sister.
Edmure's sister. And so Edmure surrenders River Run.
Well, after he threatens to catapult his baby over the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the breaking point. You kind of see Edmure like, oh shit.
Also, what I liked from the meeting of Jamie and the Blackfish was like, he's like, why did you choose to meet with me? He's like, I wanted to size you up. Basically, I wanted to check. I wanted to see if it's true, everything everybody talks about. He's like, I'd imagine you to be taller. He's like, I can take you. Like, he's just kind of like,
Oh, he's like, I'm disappointed.
yeah, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I thought that was badass.
Yeah, because the Blackfish was like the Jamie Lannister of his time. He was like a bad boy from the 50s on the motorcycle. That's why he's the Blackfish, because he was like
He was
half
the
the good
Fonz.
fish.
He was the Fonz of his time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Looks like Robert De Niro a little bit.
Yeah.
Shit in
like
grin.
Pobrecito, he had a stroke.
Really?
Yes.
Fuck,
what
dude,
he-
I feel bad now. So yeah, and at the end of this episode, we have a few deaths. Like Bryden, is that how you pronounce his first name? Bryden Tarley, Tully, Lady Crane, and the Waif T1000. What's up?
Nothing.
It's just so funny how it catches us off guard. Like, yeah, they're just kind of weird because he had a stroke. Oh fuck!
It's like Robert. Hey, Robert De Niro.
I know. He did the lip and everything, dude.
That's great.
And we're all wearing a stroke survivor t-shirt here and shit, right?
All right. So now we go over to episode 9, the Battle of the Bastards.
Wow.
We do see Marine under attack. The ships are launching like barrels of fire over, and you see the pyramid shaking. Daenerys wants to destroy the Masters and bring the cities to dust, when Tyrion kind of like talks her out of it and says we need to come to terms with the Masters again and not destroy the cities we just saved. So he has to talk some sense into her. And in this, listening to other podcasts, they kind of say like this is where Daenerys has her like pivot in her character, where now she's going a little mad with power and she's getting frustrated with wanting to move to Westeros, and just all these things keep piling up on her, and you see it like every time she speaks. Like maybe you said earlier on the podcast that it was her acting, like it was kind of like very
Yeah, it seemed
like,
off.
Yeah, a little off, and maybe it was because she is going a little mad and we need Tyrion to bring her in.
Yeah, maybe some
Every so
frustration
often.
and like her trying to get to this objective, and things are getting in her way.
To me, it felt like they didn't really know what they were doing, like either character. That's why I felt like the acting was off, because they always seemed unsure. And then like anytime Tyrion made a decision, she would always like attack him for it. So she became like the Mad King in a way, like always questioning his advice. But it just seemed off.
And Tyrion does mention the Mad King, like he keeps breaking
Telling
up.
her,
Yeah, it's like you have to be different from that.
Yeah.
Yes. So Dany and her dragons save the city, which I thought was fucking awesome. Her and her 3 dragons go and they destroy most of the fleet. I thought it was all of it, but it was not. They said that. They talk about it later.
Dude, and in the book, Daenerys is still with the Dothraki, right? Or we think she is. Dude, when the fucking Masters attack, everyone's scared shitless. It's only the Unsullied and a few like sellswords and Barristan Selmy, and that motherfucker does that famous speech that people talk about, and all the Unsullied go to the front of the city to defend it. So the Masters attack, and then from behind you see the Greyjoy fleet arriving, because Euron's brother Victorian is taking a fleet to help Daenerys, and then the book ends. Or the chapter ends, and we don't know what happens after that. But it's like fucking
That's in Dances
awesome.
with Dragons?
It's in the early release chapter of The Winds of Winter.
Oh, I see. Very cool. So yeah, she takes over the fleet, and then Grey Worm kills 2 of the Masters, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is when I felt like Tyrion is old Tyrion of old from season 2 and 3, where he was like politicking. Great speech by Tyrion.
Before that, I like when Daenerys is also meeting with the Masters, and they're like talking terms of surrender, and they're like, "Oh, I told you you weren't gonna be able to hold the city, or like I gave you a chance to leave," and she's like, "Wait, like I think we have miscommunication. Like we're not here to discuss my surrender. We're here to discuss yours." And that's when the dragons fly overhead, and they're like, "Oh shit, we fucked up." And then Grey Worm, Tyrion to ask the Masters like,
It's 3 of them.
it's 3 of them. Yeah, he asked them when the Masters like pick one of you to be killed. Like we would still expect somebody to die, and then they pick the lowest born one of them, and then Grey Worm slits the throats of the 2 higher noble ones and Tyrion's like, Whenever they ask you, what happened here, tell them like Daenerys Stormborn or Daenerys Targaryen like did this or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Yeah, I loved all that. Made them show how powerful they are. And then we go to the throne room where Theon and Yara start to bargain with Daenerys, and Yara's like they want to give her the fleet so they can help her get to Westeros. And I don't know, Yara's flirting. I don't know if they were flirting with each other. It was so fucking weak, and Yara's so unattractive to me.
I'm telling you,
like entirely.
It was more like a flirting thing. Also adding like girl power in it. Mm-hmm, like I'm gonna be the first queen in the Iron Islands. Like, whoa, I'm gonna be the first queen in Westeros. And
let's do something.
Let's scissor. Like,
yeah,
it's so fucking dumb.
And in the books, she's like Catwoman sexy. Yara, like she's very attractive. So
like Halle Berry, we're talking about Halle Berry or like
Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman,
or like Anne Hathaway.
Like Anne Hathaway, andale.
Very cool. So we're going over to the north now, and Jon and Ramsay face off the day before the battle, and the tension that they built in this scene was fucking awesome.
Lady Mormont's face was all I needed. Just that glower, staring at Ramsay, just like, that's right, 10-year-old. Fucking took your lollipop.
And Jon also challenges himself. Let's do this the old way, one-on-one, so nobody has to die. And he knew Ramsay wasn't going to take him on. Which is some pretty
He was also trying to get under his skin and be like, if you don't fight for your men, why would they fight for you?
And Ramsay knew, and he was like,
yeah.
I got you.
He's like, you got me there. And Sansa tells Jon too after this is like, you're not gonna play with him. Like, he's gonna play with you. Like, he's the one that lays traps. So be careful. And then
he tells Sansa that he missed his bride and his wife and all this other stuff, and like just the shit that he was doing to her. So it's kind of like fucked up. And then she asks like, how do we know that you have Rickon? And they pull out the Shaggy Dog's head. And they throw it at their feet. And then Sansa looks at Ramsay and says, "You're going to die tomorrow, Ramsay." And just walks off.
Splits on the horse.
Which is kind of fucking stupid because he had like 20 people with him and she's off by herself. And it's just dumb.
I would have just shot an arrow in Ramsay's face. Just boom. I'll take all the dishonor, Jon. Let me do it. Ollie him.
That'd be great. Yeah, would be great. Or to have one behind you. Just like, all right, let's do this.
Like throw hay on him to make him look like a haystack, and then rah. Rah. I know that would be awesome.
He fucking like he's had it in there. He sneezes, and the whole
or just a pile of snow because there's so much snow. Winter he's just in snow.
He's all snow.
That was a big snowball.
That's fucking great. And then the following day, Ramsay does play a fucked up game with Rickon. Tells me just to run straight.
He couldn't zigzag.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Zigzag, boys.
It's only arrows. It's not a bullet.
And
they're arrows that are arching, so it's kind of like, And
then he cuts him. He's like, let's play a game. Like, run to your brother. And then he cuts him loose. And then he's like, Rickon's just like walking away. He's like, no, you have to run. Remember? And that's when he starts like grabbing the bow and arrow. And Rickon's like, oh fuck. So he starts running. But yeah, like couldn't zigzag or anything. And I like this because, like I said, Sansa mentioned like you're not gonna play games games with Ramsay. He's gonna play games with you. And when they were going over the battle plans for the night, they're like, we're gonna build trenches on the side so they can't pinch us. And like as long as we hold like where we're at, like they're gonna have to come to us, and we have the advantage there. Like that's because they have more men than we do. And Ramsay just draws out Jon because he's trying to catch up to Rickon and like save him, but he draws him out and he's left out the middle of the field, and like so Jon's army has to charge them and meet them in the middle where they're not protected. So that's like the Ramsay's mind was just so well in this scene. Battle ready.
Hey, where was the boy's body? I don't remember. Like he gets hit with the arrow, but what happens to the body? Because
it stays on the field.
So he gets trampled.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Poor Rickon.
Yeah, because yeah.
It's a puré de papa.
For real. So we have the Battle of the Bastards in full effect. What did you all think of this epic battle?
Okay, the first part when Jon's in the middle and then the armies start clashing, I was like, holy shit. I love that scene. It's just, it's like skill and luck dance so well together because it's like dodging by accident, killing some guys, and a guy's gonna kill him and gets hit by a horse.
Yeah, just before it's getting ready, Jon's just like, fuck, and he sees all of Ramsay's fucking cavalry coming, and he's just like, fuck it, I mean, I'm here already, I might as well. And then Davos in the back like, get ready. So it's just like seeing both sides like, all right, it's gonna fucking happen. Like we're not prepared for this, but we're gonna do it. And he's about to go, and then they just everything just like
just crashes
massive
into
fucking
Best
collision,
battle scene in a TV series. Best battle scene.
So some fun facts of Thrones for you. That cavalry that was running towards Kit Harington, Jon Snow, is real.
Yeah.
They were told to run right at him, and he pulls out his sword. And I'm like, no matter what, he's just gonna go down like as a fucking badass. And I was like truly concerned for Jon in this.
Oh yeah.
In this scene, because honestly, everything that was going on, I didn't even think in the back like what could possibly happen. Which we'll go over in a little bit. But yeah, this whole scene where they're starting to pile up on each other, and it's just like dead bodies everywhere, and people like crawling, and there's like half people like cut in half, and they're just like, it was so violent and raw, and I loved every minute of it. It was so good, and it also took a month to film.
I believe it.
It took a month to film that scene, and it was just great.
I was holding my breath when the pincer move, when Jon's in the middle of the crowd of soldiers.
They started to trample him.
I was holding my breath. I was like, when I first saw it, I could not breathe.
Even the moment of when they surround him, and then hearing everybody like move, and they all like the whole army is like such a tactic of like just fear being thrown into all the opponents. Fucking.
Y'all want to know about that tactic?
Yeah.
Little history. Okay, so that was when the Romans used it, I think, against the guy from Carthage. Well, they would lure the enemy, right? So they had their line with the spear and the shield. So when they would start attacking the front, the sides would kind of slowly like flank them on each side and then create a circle and just stab them to death. So that was kind of a nod to an old military tactic. But actually, the Unsullied fight like that, not the Northerners. But who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, it would make sense that Ramsay would find a way to just efficiently kill people because that's just what he does. And I like the scale of it too, where we see all these like men, and they're talking about like, oh, they have 2,000, they have thousands of men, and you just really don't picture that in your head, and like you see them. And there just looks like 50 of them on camera because that's all they can capture at one time. But then, like, you see all the bodies just pile up, and they're climbing like a mountain, like a hill of bodies, just like trying to get away. And it's just like, damn, it's all these people. And then when they're surrounded, they're just like just touching each other, like so close. It's so packedly tight, and
claustrophobic.
You're just like, damn. And Tormund and Karstark are fighting.
Oh my god!
Just like
Tormund rips out his throat, and
then just stabs.
Brutal.
Him. Just fucking. That's so great. I love this fucking scene.
Yeah. So then we hear a horn, and the Knights of the Vale come in, and they run straight into them, like full force, and then they went around them with their. On horseback, and they just annihilate everybody in there. And then we have Tormund, 1-1, and Jon run towards Winterfell after Ramsay.
You know what? When I saw that scene, I started hearing the Lord of the Rings theme. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da.
Right,
you know what I mean? I'm like, because it looked like Aragorn getting up and charging the Black Gate.
You
I'm
see
like,
the giant, and then these two little regular humans. They're all running like from afar. So yeah,
it almost felt like maybe they were giving a nod to Lord of the Rings. I don't know, because it looked very Lord of the Ringsy, like heroic. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So they seal the gates, and 1-1 gives it his all, breaks the gates down.
His hand.
Yeah, they shoot a spear right through his hand. He tears it off and opens up the door, and he gives it his all. And 1-1 falls. He dies after being bombarded with a bunch of arrows and also taking an arrow to the eye from Ramsay. And Jon beats the shit out of Ramsay by holding up a shield.
But that right there too, where he shot 1-1 in the eye. It's like I was like, why didn't he just shoot Jon then?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I was like,
but
Because if he would have killed John first, 1-1 would have trampled him.
Yeah.
Like, he would have been like, yum, yum.
Yeah, and
I feel like even with Ramsay has to know that he's gonna die because the veil is here. There's another.
No,
they're getting flanked.
He felt he could have stayed in Winterfell.
He could have been a prisoner or whatever, and he tells John like, well, you suggested a 1-on-1 combat, like I reconsidered it. So he had a plan to take on John on his own, but he had to get rid of the biggest threat, I guess. Like, because I was thinking about that too. Like, you could have easily just killed John when he was on horseback, like riding towards Rickon. Like, he had the range for it. Like, he could have shot the arrow like at Rickon, and then the last one.
Well, they did try to take him out when they shot all the arrows at John, but he got lucky.
Well, I mean, like when he was isolated and like John was focusing on Rickon, he wasn't focusing on anything else, and so like that could have been it, and he could have hit John instead of 1-1. But I guess like he had the plan of like, I'm gonna kill this giant, and then I'm gonna take on John on 1-on-1. And he had the arrow, so he had the advantage in the first place, like there.
Yeah.
Even though he was surrounded, like against John, he had the advantage already. So I guess that's why he didn't take him out when he had the chance.
John carries a tiny little shield, and he deflects the 3 arrows. But still, like I would have gone for the knees, you know.
And it's so. And I don't know if you saw like the other side of the arrow, and like of the shield,
it's
the
like
arrow
5 inches.
It goes through,
5-6 inches. Yeah.
That's all she needs.
And it was badass. And it was badass him walking up to Ramsay and it's just quiet. And he's just like, I'm going to fuck you up. Like, you could just see it in his walk. I'm like, yes, finally.
So,
Justice.
yeah. Ramsay meets his fate, and I was like, I didn't think it was... And they don't do it. I didn't think John was going to kill him, and I knew that they were going to do something else. So, Ramsay becomes dog food. Sansa feeds him to his own dogs that he hadn't fed in a week, and that was some poetic justice for me.
Yeah. And
Brought to you by Ramsay's Kibble.
Yeah.
And he's so confident. It's like my hounds won't hurt me. Like, they're loyal beasts.
You haven't fed them in 7 days, motherfucker. Remember?
Like, he's like,
No, they
starving.
start licking him first.
Yeah.
And he's just like down, and they don't listen.
And that first fucking chomp at his jaw, just like, oh, that shit
So
was
good.
And I like Sansa's like body language, and like she starts to look away, and she's like, no, I have to see this through. Like, I have to, like, for herself, she has to see him die. Like, everything die about him. And she even tells him like, your name's gonna die. Like,
You're going to disappear.
yeah, like, and she has to make sure like that he's gone for good.
And like that, another house is gone. The Boltons are gone entirely. There was a lot of deaths in this episode. There was 2 masters, Rickon Stark, Small John Umbar, 1-1 the giant, Ramsay Bolton, and my heart because Ramsay's dead. He's my favorite character up to this point. I fucking loved him, dude.
Real quick, how far did you say the Knights of the Vale were?
They were 700 miles away.
And she wrote to Littlefinger the day before.
The day before, yeah.
And they just showed up right in time to save the day.
Yeah, John fucking gasping for breath, and they fucking...
Yeah, so that's a little... That one was a little blatant to me, like, oh,
And you know ravens take days, right?
Yeah, so...
Days.
So that
it's
one,
a little bird flying hundreds of miles.
So that one kind of took me out, like the whole jetpacking. That one kind of took me out of it. But then I was like, but then we go and have this like amazing like battle story, and a quick facts of Thrones. I think I told you earlier that the main stunt coordinator was saying that when they have like these big action pieces, whatever, the actors have a safe word, and it's banana, because they're already like pretending to die, and like if somebody gets hurt, like you making like a I'm hurt kind of type of noise, it would just be drowned out with the other ones that are faked. So they say banana because it's so like out of nowhere, and that's what they know, like we need to stop and see what's going on.
1-1 snow.
Translated banana.
Yeah, help him out.
Ah, shit, quit playing that. All right, so we go to episode 10, The Winds of Winter. We're almost done, guys. We're going to wrap this up in just a second. We're going to start over at Westeros, and I love how the music swells. It starts off silent. Nobody said anything. It's the day of Cersei and Loras' trial. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know this, and you'll see this in later episodes. This is Cersei's theme. The piano. Where she's going to face the trial. This is her like plotting and stuff like that. It continues to swell, and I love how they focus on each individual character that's there in the sept, and you know something is about to go down. And I feel like everybody was destined for doom there. So Loras is lured below the sept. Not Loras.
The cousin
Lancel is lured below the sept, and he's stabbed, which is like, it's so weird because he's stabbed by a child in the rib cage, and he gets paralyzed, or maybe it was in the spine.
Maybe it was the spine because he couldn't.
Yeah, he had to like crawl over.
And it makes sense because Qyburn's the one that gave the order, so he would tell him exactly where to immobilize him.
That's
Sugar
true.
plum.
Yeah.
Stab him in the spine.
Yeah. Here you go, darling.
Yeah.
And then it's so weird how you see Pycelle lured into Qyburn's lab, which is his lab, and then he's murdered by children, which was fucked up.
I like that scene.
I liked it too.
It was great. And then you see Marjorie start to put things in two and two together. Like, this was like a 6-minute scene of just silence, and then Marjorie's like, "Where is she? Like, she's supposed to be here."
Like she dropped all her religious training in that section. She's like, "Fuck this!
She's
Like, we need to
"Something's
go."
gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
"Where the fuck is Cersei?" And the High Septon was like, "Oh, she'll come."
And it's like Cersei's not here, Tommen's not here. It's like, why do you think they're not here? Like, Cersei knows the consequences. Like, she doesn't care about them, and she's like, we have to leave. And the High Septon's just like, he looks at her and like scoffs, like,
It's
huh,
like, pendeja.
like silly girl. Like, I mean, he doesn't say that, but like that's what he's thinking. Like,
We have them right where we want them.
yeah.
Yeah. And so Marjorie understands that they're all in danger, and we have Loras, not Loras.
Lancel.
We have Lancel crawling towards the glowing
Wildfire.
and it's lit by a tiny little candle, so you know
love
that
that.
shit's about to go off, and he just sits there, and then he's the first to go. So in this one scene, we kill off a bunch of characters. We kill off Lancel, Marjorie, Mace Tyrell, Loras, the High Sparrow, Kevin Lannister, and yeah, I already said
Like all the nobles of King's Landing, I think,
Yeah.
are nuked.
Fuck.
I really felt the explosion should have been bigger because of all the barrels they had. It should have taken out like maybe a whole city block, not just the sept, the sept, but.
And I like when the wildfire first explodes, Lancel's eyes just turn green with the like, not the reflection, but the light of the fire, and then Marjorie looks over to the High Septon and
his
the High
body-
Sparrow. Yeah,
He evaporates, right? Like
he evaporated. You just see his body like glow, and you see a skeleton come through, and he's singed, destroyed.
and then the bell just like flying through the city and fucking
Smashing.
crushes somebody. Yeah, it was
awesome.
And then so she smiled like when she sees it like happening, like her smile. And
Watch
she
it
just,
from afar.
No,
just
she
drinks this
breathes
wine.
out. She does like a cool exhale, like she's like, finally, I killed all those motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
And
She
she
does like
just
this little,
takes a sip of her wine.
yeah.
So evil, dude, crazy.
And Tommen's watching it as well, isn't he?
Yes, because the mountain is
There's,
barricaded him in his room.
Yeah. And it's like through that window, right? You could see it from afar, all the green, just
And then he's like, doop.
yeah.
He takes off his crown.
So Cersei, they go into the dungeon, and Cersei promises the High Priestess that the last thing you would see before she died was her face, and then she brings in the mountain. And what do you think the mountain was gonna do to her, dude?
I don't want to say rape. I think he was probably like breaking her bones or something or torturing her.
I thought it was raped and tortured.
Well, maybe it is rape, but I don't know if he has an undead pecker like
Yeah,
can,
I think maybe it's just torture in my head because he is like all fucking weird now.
or he's just looking at her and she just goes crazy staring at that thing.
Yeah, with
because
his helmet off.
he takes
Yeah.
off his helmet. So the theory of him having a dwarf's head is out the window.
Yeah.
But he's still fucking scary looking.
Yeah.
So Gregor, yeah. So yeah, I thought that was like so good because she's like shame.
Shame.
Slams the little latch and walks away.
That was awesome.
And then we get a quick zoom in of Tommen watching the devastation that just happened with the sept exploding, and he walks away. The frame does not move, and you just see him come back in the frame. He jumps, commits suicide.
He just, like,
No,
walks
he
up
walks
slowly,
off,
like-
right?
yeah,
It's
he
like
just-
not even a hop. It's just boop.
And it's like so dedicated. It's such a dedicated walk. There's no hesitation. It's just like gets up on the ledge and just boop. It's all quiet.
The
too.
actor who played Tommen did a great job looking generally clueless of what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last couple episodes, he just had that sense of loss. Like you just see it in his eyes. Like he already gave up.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's good.
Yeah,
That was
so
awesome.
it's pretty much Cersei's fault that Tommen's dead. And how is she going to live with that? It's crazy. So over at the Twins, Walder, Frey, and Jamie speak about battle. And Jamie speaks about Walder asking him, like, have you ever fought in a war? He said no, but Walder brags about destroying all of his enemies. But then Jamie, like, scoffs at him, is like, your enemies are dead because the Lannisters took him out.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not like you, boy. And he's trying to defend his own right.
Yeah,
Walder Frey.
it was so weak. But you do see a servant eyeing Jamie. And it was so weird because, like, she doesn't look like she belongs there because she's, like, dark complected, and in this part of Westeros, you don't have anybody who's got like a tan in this area. Kind of cool. So we're gonna fast forward over to Sam. He arrives to the Citadel in Old Town, which is, if you think about it, Old Town is like Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, and King's Landing. Just for perspective, King's Landing is like Dallas. That's how far apart they are. And he's traveled from the Wall all the way down to Old Town to the Citadel, and that's a little.
But Horn
crazy.
Hill isn't as far from.
Correct. Yeah.
From Old Town.
Yeah. So at the north, Davos presents the burnt stag to Melisandre and Jon. He wants her killed, but Davos' performance in the scene was really good because he says, "Tell him what you did." And she said, I had to do what I had to do for the Lord of Light. And she said that she's not proud of it, but she was wrong. And she admits that she was wrong.
I still think they should have spinned it a little more. Like, she should have come up with something like, well, maybe that's how you came back to life because I killed her. You know what I mean? Like, hey.
Right.
But whatever.
Yeah. Jon and Sansa speak about being a Stark. Sansa tells Jon that she's sorry that she didn't tell him about Littlefinger's army being so close to the Vale. And they also announced that it's officially winter. So winter is here.
Yeah, because when Sam is getting to the Citadel, or so Oatstown, he looks at the Citadel and all the white doves are, not the white doves, the white crows.
Ravens.
I would miss the white ravens are flying out, and then Sansa tells Jon, like, we got a raven from the Citadel, like it was a white raven. So they see that winter's here.
Then we go back to the twins, where Arya is disguised as one of the servants who was staring at Jamie, but I don't think she was staring at Jamie. She was probably staring at Walder Frey, who was sitting behind Jamie at the time. And she basically feeds him his sons because he asks, like, oh, where are my sons at or whatever. She's like, they're here, my lord. They're here. And then she removes her face and then slits his throat. And it was so fucking brutal.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah.
And the idea is Lord Walder Manderley, he's like a huge fat lord in the north. They don't show him I love him. He's too fat to sit a horse, right? He's so fat. Well, his sons get killed at the Red Wedding. So he kidnaps Frey kids and makes a pie. And he's eating it in front of the Freys because they're like part of the alliance with the Boltons. So like there's some Freys, Boltons, and he's serving them Frey pie. And everyone loves it. They're like, it's so good. It's like,
Fredo pie.
It's delicious pie. He's like a big fat guy. It's great. But yeah, that's where they kind of got the idea.
Yeah, and I love that scene where they're here, my lord, and Walder Frey pulls back the crust, and you see the
finger.
the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's like, what?
And he tries to get away, and she just grabs him by the collar and slits his throat. And it was so cool because she's just staring at the camera, like
Smiling,
like she got one off her list, and it was so satisfying to see. And then we also have an interaction with Sansa and Littlefinger where he tells her, like, you know what I want? I want the Iron Throne, and I want you by my side, and I'll do anything I need to. And he leans in to kiss her, and she friend zones him.
She's like, that's a nice dream.
Like, oh, no.
Or that's a nice picture or whatever.
Yeah, exactly what she says to him. It was that was awesome. Yeah, Littlefinger still thinks he can get it, but I don't. I thought I would have been shut down as a man, you know. Just like go mac on some chick, and she's just like, nope. And then we also go back to Benjen, Bran, and Mira over north of the Wall, and they have a discussion as to like the reveal that he is Benjen Stark. And he also speaks about going south of the Wall, and he can't because there's a magic barrier that he has no understanding of that he will probably die if he goes north.
And
south
the
of wall.
dead can't cross the wall.
There you go. Then Bran syncs up with the weirwood tree before he leaves and sees Jon's birth. Ned sets aside his honor to name and protect Lyanna's secret. So they work back into that scene where Ned is going up into the tower and they play it out. So Bran's in the room watching Ned sit by his sister's bedside and it sees that, oh, he was a baby. And if that wasn't a clear enough and scene for you, they tell you later. But yes, Jon is son of Lyanna and Rhaegar.
No, and it's like you see the baby and then John's face.
Yes,
like
and
it's right away.
It transitions into Jon's face, and I'm like, it's right there. And it's crazy.
Another Facts of Throne, the initials are hidden in the series. Like there's like in season 3 or 4 where it's carved like R plus L equals J. Like you can find it in certain parts of the show. Like there's like little hints.
That was one of the biggest like book theories.
Yeah, I know.
Who is
fucking took a dump on it. We're so excited for the next book.
Who's Jon's?
All the spoil, dude. For book readers, it's like all these spoilers are like, oh, so that's what happens.
Okay, well, let me ask you this real quick. How would you feel if you get the next book and everything is completely changed from the books? Would you be okay with that? Like, would that be like, okay, we get a different story than what we have now? Or would you kind of be like, well, I kind of like where the show was going besides the book?
I would want it to be kind of like the show, but a lot of details would have to change.
Okay.
That's it. But I mean, I would hate if it's like, Jon's actually the son of Varys. Then I would be like, okay, this is stupid. You know what I mean?
He was born from his unsevered cock.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they saved the sperm in there. and
Or
they
maybe
gave it to
from
the
his
Lord of
severed
Light.
cock and his,
Yeah.
you know. and
Maybe
they-
he is the severed cock.
Or that like he was born from a virgin because he's the son of the Lord of Light. You know what I mean? I'd like, okay, well maybe.
Yeah, so it says a lot about Ned's character. Like that he set aside his honor, his name, to protect Lyanna's secret, which
And
I thought was
And his
very
family.
lovely.
Yeah.
Lady Mormont sets all the Northerners in check over at
Here's the coal.
in Winterfell, and they claim Jon the King of the North, which I was shouting with them, the King of the North, the King of the North. And another thing that got me, sorry to go back to the last episode that we were talking about, but like when I got teary-eyed when they put the Stark banners up
Oh yeah.
after the Bolton, like that was the one time where I was like, fuck, okay, they got me. I was so excited. Anyways, yeah, so they claim Jon as King of the North. And then while they're doing this whole like chant for the King of the North, Sansa and Littlefinger like lock eyes. I just didn't get like
because he warns her that Jon was going to take the North, even though she's a Stark and everyone a Stark. Like he's saying Stark like 15 times.
She's the rightful heir.
Yeah.
And,
Just getting into her head and shit.
yeah. And she seems happy when they pronounce Jon the King of the North, and then like her smile fades away when she sees Littlefinger just staring at her, and like she's kind of realizing like, oh fuck, like he was right.
It almost felt like they forced the conflict between
Yeah.
Sansa and Jon. Like it really didn't. Like that storyline didn't have to happen. Like it would have worked. You know what I mean? But because after everything they went through, wouldn't they be like super tight knit? It's like, hey, mom was slaughtered, dad was slaughtered, but you're gonna plot against me? You know, like no, I don't know.
Yeah, moving back to Westeros really quickly. Qyburn announces Cersei Lannister as the first of her name and as Queen of the Iron Thrones. I don't think that's how succession works, but it's for TV, I guess.
Well, the right of conquest is legal, so in a way, she conquered
Yeah.
the Seven Kingdoms. She got rid of all the houses that opposed her except the North, right? But everyone else is dealt with.
Oh, that's...
Besides, like she fucking has what? Like they know that she has like a way to get rid of people that she wants to. So I don't think they're gonna fight her too much on that. Like I might get blown up next.
Yeah,
You
she
can't
could blow up
oppose.
Old Town. Like I don't give a fuck.
Cool. So moving over to Dorne really quickly because we only had one scene in Dorne in the last episode. Olenna Tyrell is speaking with Arya. I don't know if I said her name right. And they form an alliance. And Olenna shuts down all the Sand Snakes.
I love that.
That was fucking cool. I was just like,
That's what they
What's your
should've done
name,
the whole
Barbaro?
season. So they should have done the whole season. Like, no, you shut up.
and she's like, what about you? And she's like, that's what I thought. Like, just shut her up. And then you see Varys pop up from the back, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
They don't say much, but that's it. Varys is in Dorne. How the fuck he got to Dorne?
Yeah. Well,
from Dragonstone.
he was where? Oh, he was in
Oh, no.
Marine. So yeah, it's the
Marine,
South. I mean, it's still a month, but hey, he made it like in a couple weeks.
And then he, yeah.
He's like, I bring you fire and blood. You know what I mean?
Just to say that.
And to close out the episode, we were in Essos, where Daenerys leaves Dario in charge of Marine and the Second Sons to keep the peace. Daenerys makes Tyrion the hand of the Queen, which I was also
A
very
touching
moved
moment,
by.
yeah.
I feel like he totally deserves it. He's proved himself politically, and he's always made the right decision. And then Daenerys and her armies head for Westeros finally after 6 seasons. And then how the fuck Varys is behind her in
I
this
don't know.
scene. I'm like, all right, whatever. Fuck it.
And I don't know who went and sewed all the masks for each house.
Thank you.
It was very like, hey, wait a minute, superheroes. Like, how'd y'all get costumes already?
Exactly. How the hell did they get all the
The masks and shit.
Because
I mean,
with the
Dario
Targaryen.
mentions like, oh, your ship's almost ready. I saw them paint the sails, or
yeah, that's right.
and then then like the whole fleet is heading towards Westeros, and I was like, okay, I see the Targaryen like sigil or thing, and then I see the Greyjoy one, and then I saw like the sun. I was like, what's the sun? Like, what's that? And then I was like, oh yeah, like Varys went to Dorne. He got their fleet, took it back to Marine, and now they're sailing back to Westeros. Like,
Of course.
like why don't we like, hey, we'll just meet you on the way? Like,
From scene to scene. Like, that's ridiculous.
This is where, and then we're gonna get more into it next season too, with like a lot of jetpacking stuff. I want to say now it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's just to move the story along. I don't care. It kind of takes away from like, oh, they could have done this more, but like whatever. I don't care anymore.
I think it's just funny to point it out.
Yeah.
That it's just like, what the fuck? But of course, we're still gonna get the story.
It doesn't take
Yeah.
away from the story for me. I don't know how you guys feel, but
It does to me, but
Not for me either.
Well, since season 6 and 7 were very like not in the book, I didn't care anymore. But when it was in the book, because it's like he's very specific. Like, okay, it takes them like 2 weeks to travel or whatever.
I mean, yeah, because you're talking about like different lore stuff that could have happened with Barristan and like a whole bunch of other things. I'm just like, why didn't we get that? Like, that sounds cooler than like the whole Dorne thing. Like,
Exactly.
we could at least replace that with something else. But yeah, I love jetpacks.
I hate jetpacks. Ruined it. So deaths for this season were Grandmaster Pycelle, Lancel Lannister, the High Sparrow, Marjorie Tyrell, Loras Tyrell, Mace Tyrell, Kevin Lannister, Tommen Baratheon, and Walder Frey. That's a shitload of characters to kill off in one episode. But
2 houses almost.
almost,
Right.
you know. Crazy.
So that would do it for season. What is it? Season 6
Yeah.
of Game of Thrones. Guys, like I said, if you have any comments for us, or have any suggestions or any theories that you have, like that we had right here, if you want to react to our theories, leave them down in the comments below. We were Alex, Fernie, Manuel, and David. We'll see you next time for the final season that's coming up, season 7, and then again for season 8 when it comes up. So stick with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Like and subscribe.
Yes. YouTube.com/laughterdeath.
Follow the Harris.
Yo, Grace.
My lord.
Glitter. Sansa.